I'm going to have our village attorney, Brian Mraz, call the meeting to order.
I declare this tax increment financing joint review board to order this August 11th at 1:02 p.m. Would you call the roll, please? Tony? We can't really do a roll. Why don't we identify the people who are here and have you state what taxing district you represent, starting on the left with Carolyn.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Nansen. I'm with the Bartlett Library District.
I am Kevin Romeko. I'm with the Bartlett Park District.
Mike Felice, Fire Chief, Bartlett Fire.
James Barr, Hanover Township.
Jim Plonzinski, Village of Bartlett.
John Sias, resident.
Public member. Or we have to appoint him.
Right.
Thank you.
And then now we do the chair.
Pardon?
Chairperson's next.
At this time, we'd entertain a motion to appoint a chairperson of the meeting.
I'll move to appoint Mike Felice from the Bartlett Fire Protection District chairperson.
Is there? Okay. The motion's been made and seconded that Mike Felice be the chairman of the meeting. Could you call the roll, Tony, of the members who are present?
Bartlett Library District.
Or that should be an A or an A.
Bartlett Park District.
Aye.
Bartlett Fire Protection District.
Yes.
Hanover Township.
Yes.
Village of Bartlett.
Yes.
Public member.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries.
Yeah, confirm. Yes. No. Yes. No. He was last year. Do the public member.
At this point, we should have a motion to confirm Mr. Sias as the public member. With the
Second.
roll call.
Village of Bartlett.
Yes.
Library District. Park District.
Yes.
Township.
Yes.
And Fire District.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mike. Mike's up now.
All right, Todd, if we could move to number 5 on the agenda, the village financial report and the TIF financial activities. I think that'd be our next thing.
Okay, thank you. Again, my name is Todd Dowden. I'm the Assistant Finance Director with the Village of Bartlett. I'll go through one TIF district at a time, financial report. The first one is the Brewster Creek TIF. It's located in DuPage County and Cook County, so I'll go over both parts of those. The detail for the last 10 years is on the back of the page, but I'll just go over the front page summary. This report is based on the most recently audited financial statements dated April 30, 2015. The Brewster Creek TIF split between two funds, the project fund and the municipal fund. Project fund total at the end of the year was $3,290,000 and $353,000 in the municipal fund, for a total combined balance $3,643,000. And there you show the revenues in the project fund totaled $4,624,000 and $568,000 in the municipal fund. In total, the expenditures exceeded the revenues for the fiscal year by just over $93,000. In the second paragraph, property taxes in the project fund totaled $3,975,000 and $567,000 in the municipal fund. Property taxes are split 87.5% to the project fund and the remaining 12.5% to the municipal fund. The income for the project fund was from interest, sales tax, note proceeds. That totaled $649,000. Most of that was from note proceeds, $640,000 for the year. Expenses, wetland mitigation amounted to $87,000. Roadways, site prep, that was the bulk of it, $553,000. And then debt service for the TIF bond payments totaled $2,627,000, And then developer note payments totaled $1,538,000. The chart in the middle shows a breakdown of revenue expenditures since the beginning. The next paragraph below the chart gives a summary of the equalized assessed value and the increment. So the total EAV right now is at $48,566,000 for DuPage County. That's just the DuPage County section. And the base is still at $1,778,000. So that was an increase from 2014 of $7,500,000. So just over 18%, the total EAV for the district. And combined for the combined Cook County and DuPage County, $49 million in total EAV. Right now, the Cook County is still below the base, so there's no tax increment from the Cook County section of the TIF district. One other note: total outstanding TIF bonds, which isn't on this report, $18,205,000 as of April 30, 2015. And the developer notes balance was $870,000. And again, the TIF reports have been filed with the state. They can, if you want to see the full detailed TIF reports, the easiest way to do that is to go to the state comptroller's website, and they've got all the TIF reports from all the TIF districts in the state. That's it for the Brewster Creek TIF. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
James?
What year are we in this TIF?
Year ending April 30, 2015. So this is the year that, we're currently working on our audit for 2016, but this is 2015.
I meant, how many years are we into this?
Oh, are we in? The TIF ends in 2022.
Any other questions on Brewster Creek? Okay, continue.
Thank you.
You want to do the Brewster Creek,
Financial?
the redevelopment activity and then come back to do the other two
Sure, that's,
that way then?
that's fine.
Tony, so.
Okay.
Tony?
Thank you. Tony Freyden, Economic Development Coordinator for the Village of Bartlett. One piece of housekeeping I say every year before I launch into my report is that we did the certified mailings to all the taxing districts within the 3 counties in Bartlett to notify all of you and other tax districts of this joint review board meeting. Also, I have the certificate here that we published it in the Daily Herald back on July 25th. So with that, I'm going to do my annual report on the economic development of Brewster Creek Business Park. These are the projects that have been driving the EAV up, as Todd just reported. I know a few years in a row and during the recession you saw a declining EAV, but once again it's coming back strong, as Todd Dowden just mentioned. So Brewster Creek Business Park continues to be the economic engine of the village. It's where most of the new businesses are coming in, where most of the construction, most of the new jobs in the village. And it's been that way for over 10 years at this point. The TIF was adopted in 1999, and as you all know, a typical TIF runs for 23 years. So again, to answer your question, it's scheduled to run for 6 more years at this time through the year 2022. So last year at this meeting, last August, I had mentioned that ACE relocation was in the approval stages, and so since that time I have reports in front of you with a few pictures. You can see that ACE relocation, a moving and storage business, has constructed a 50,000 square foot facility, and they have since completed it and moved in, and the address for the facility is 1543 Heck Drive. Another building since last year's meeting, Greco Development. This is the development arm of the very large food company, Greco & Sons, that's out in the business park. They had completed a 64,586 square foot speculative building. Again, that was in the review process a year ago. This building has since been completed. A German-based high-precision manufacturing firm called Ixmation is relocating from Roselle. I spoke with them earlier today to try to get a better grasp on when, and it's basically going to be early September. And they're moving their 110 employees with them. So that's going to be a great boost to the business park. Flipping to the second page of the report, a developer called Ridge Development is nearing completion on a speculative building, 271,000 square feet, and the address assigned to that is 1331 to 1337 Schiffrel Road. And even before this building has been completed, as I mentioned, it's a speculative building, but they've leased out half of it to a company that manufactures brake parts. So a company in the auto supply chain called Winhere Brake Parts, relocating from Hanover Park. Another project that's coming online soon is by a developer called Exeter Property Group. They've been approved recently to construct what will be the largest building in the business park and thus the village, 421,000 square feet. This facility will feature 47 docks, 227 parking spaces with an additional 222 land bank spaces for future parking needs, and will be 40 and 1/2 feet clear height. So we hope to work with the brokers for that building in the coming year. Love to tell you here next August that either the whole building or some portion of it's been leased. Greco Development, I mentioned earlier, they had completed a building since last year. They've recently been approved to construct another speculative building. This one will be 169,648 square feet. A company called Access is a record storage facility. They're expanding their warehouse at 1200 Humbrock Circle by 24,000 square feet. You can see a picture. They were very busy working on construction on the day when I drove and took that. So these projects, along with another additional project we're working on for relocation of another company from a neighboring community, should help continue boosting the EAV in Brewster Creek Business Park, helping fulfill the original goals of the 1999 redevelopment plan, which is, again, as you know, was taking a depleted gravel pit and turning it into what's one of the more successful business parks in the Chicago area, and a great example, one of the best examples you can find in the area of a TIF project. So also, one more thing to add is notices will soon be sent out to the taxing districts that Brewster Creek Business Park will be amending their TIF budget from $30 million to $44 million. And this is for them to be able to complete the land reclamation for the remaining undeveloped areas within the business park. So the business park is coming along very well, approximately 2/3 of it, 60 to 65% or so getting built out, but there is some remaining undeveloped land that the developer hopes to attract new development to. So that's my development report for Brewster Creek Business Park TIF, and I'll try to answer any questions you have about it.
James?
I believe, based on past reports, the Cook County portions proved a challenge in part because of tax rate structure in Cook County. Have you had any progress at all with the Cook County portion of Brewster Creek?
There hasn't been progress quite yet, but there's been some discussions and some strategies. Cook County has what they call a Class 6B program, and the village board just recently approved a Class 6B on a vacant building, not in Brewster Creek, but over on Devon, the former Main Steel building at 802 East Devon. But that same redevelopment tool is available for new construction as well. So that's something that we've had discussions with both county economic development and the business park owner, because you're right, it would be difficult at best to attract new development I wouldn't say just because it's Cook County, but that's exacerbated by the fact that it's directly on the border. And for industrial projects, that's a significant factor. Property tax rates are one of the most significant factors for it, so that's a good point. With the 6 years left to go, that's something the village and the business park owner will most likely have to address at some point, is what we can do to work together to get that portion developed. So great question.
I would add, what Tony had mentioned is that you'll be getting a notice that they're amending their redevelopment plan to increase the projected project cost budget from the original plan approved back in '99 showed $30 million. They basically have spent that. The TIF Act provides that they can make a simple amendment if you factor in inflation and a 5% increase each year. That would allow them to construct up to $44 million. So the 30 they've spent plus the 44. If we didn't do that, they would be done where you see it right now. The game plan is for them to refinance some of their debt, get a lower interest rate, and put that back into the project, including grading out some of the Cook County portions that need some reclamation, and to at least get a building pad ready, because otherwise, if it sits where it is, it'll sit there empty. So that's the purpose of the notice that you'll be receiving. It's within that allowed and contemplated inflation factor, and if that happens, and we expect that it will shortly, then that'll allow them to fill in some of the DuPage lots that aren't completed, but to at least get the building pads done sort of behind the fire station out there and the Cook County portion of the TIF.
Any additional questions? All right, maybe we continue then. Do you want to go with Bluff City or Lake Street?
I just have a question. Should we approve these as we go through them rather than wait for all the end? Do you want to do that?
I think you should
Okay.
approve them as you go.
I look for a motion to approve the financial report as well as the redevelopment or the development report on Brewster Creek.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Roll call. You should do
Oh, roll call, I'm sorry.
Okay. Public member?
Yes.
Township?
Yes.
Fire Protection District?
Yes.
Public Library District? Yes. Village of Bartlett?
Yes.
Park District?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. All right, so then let's move on to Lake Street or,
59 Lake Street, if
Okay.
if it's okay. This will be a very short financial report. There's no increment currently coming into the 59 Lake TIF District. And again, this is through April 30, 2015. The EAV is currently below the base, so there's no property taxes coming in. The only expense that we had, $7,552, was for a loan that we have from other funds within the village. So that was interest expense that we paid. And to cover that expense, we transfer money from the developer deposit fund and increase the loan. So we keep the fund balance at zero. So basically, that's all of the financial activity. If you look at the year-to-date, total revenues, total expenditures, that's included. That does not list the property that was purchased, though, from loans from the village. Total outstanding balances from the municipal fund, $278,000. The developer deposit fund, $1,910,000, and the sewer fund currently has loaned $1,250,000. So total outstanding loan to other funds within the village, $3,440,000. So that's doesn't show on the revenues and expenditures or the fund balance, but that would be basically on the balance sheet. So that's where it stands right now at this time. If you have any other questions, that's it for the financial activity for the year.
All right, unless there's any questions, we'll move to the development activity in that area.
Right. Thank you. Echoing Todd's sentiments, there is not very much to report on this particular TIF district. This was adopted in fall of 2004, at which time high-traffic corners like 59 and Lake Street were in very high demand for shopping center developers. This was created with the intention of working with a shopping center developer at that point who had been pursuing these properties. So TIF was adopted and is supposed to currently run through 2027. May need to be reevaluated or perhaps extended if any development does get proposed at this site. The 8 parcels that cover about 49 acres of this TIF were deemed to be a blighted area back at that time, and without running through all the blighting factors, I'll just say they haven't changed at all since that time. So those blighting factors are still present. Last year, I had mentioned at the Joint Review Board there was a developer of high-end apartments that had some interest in the area, but not the entire TIF district. He was pursuing portions of the land in the TIF district as well as another property just west of it that's not included in the TIF district. The project really hasn't made any forward progress since last year's meeting, and staff is once again promoting these sites as available for development. Since 12 years have passed without any development or an increase in the EAV, any interested developers that have called about it have expressed their concern regarding the shortening amount of time left to generate any increment. As I mentioned, TIF district, this one was adopted for 23 years, which is standard. So at this point now, I can say more than half of it has elapsed. So there's 11 years left. As the financial report Todd presented indicates, the EAV for this district is currently $602,000, lower than it was when the TIF was formed. So there's a lot of reasons that have gone into why this area has not been developed. But suffice it to say, right now, it's much the same as it was in 2004, with just the passage of time in between now and then. We still hope to attract development to this site. Eventually, it would happen or will happen. But as I said, the years left to generate any increment to help support development. Every year I sit here, it's 1 year shorter. So we'll answer any questions you have about the 59 and Lake TIF from a development perspective, if you'd like.
Any questions for Tony or Todd? Yes, sir.
A couple. Similar to that other property, any consideration of the county tax incentive program for this property? Should interested parties come along?
That has not been discussed, and the reason for that is the increment itself would be plowed back into some of the project costs, the typical way a TIF would operate. And when you have one of these property tax abatements through the county, it typically cuts the taxes in half. So it's good. It's typically better for filling vacant industrial spaces or perhaps building new industrial spaces. When it comes to possible shopping centers, or in this case, it was a potential apartment development, it really wouldn't apply as much.
And then, somewhat related, as a follow-up, I think IDOT was working on some improvements of 59 and 20, or at least we're planning some down the road.
Yes.
And I'm sure the village was in those discussions. Have they attempted to coordinate with you to make the property as sort of attractive from a transportation perspective as possible?
Yes, our village member on the Joint Review Board, Jim, has more communications with IDOT on that, but it is, I did mention that last year, that the improvements are coming up in the near future, and that would help make these sites more attractive for developers, absolutely, because in the past, when somebody would have presented development concept at that corner, the state would be requiring the developers themselves to contribute. Back in the early days of this TIF, they would ask them to pay the entire cost of it. So that was one of the costs that TIF funds were to be used for. But that's correct. At this point now, the state does have plans to improve that intersection. I would have to defer to Jim to ask when that might occur.
I think the latest we're hearing is that they're going to let the project next spring. So it's the first in a series of improvements along Route 59 and crossing street intersection improvements that IDOT's got planned, and that's the first one to go. And it'll improve the access primarily on the 59 where the Jane Society's at, kind of provide turn lanes in there. So one of the things that this property has always had deficiency is the access on the 59. So that turn lane, and there'll be at least a spot you can put a signal there. And then on Lake Street, there's always that frontage road, and hopefully it'll make it more attractive. I think it'll certainly pique interest on the part of the development community. So,
Last, is there a mechanism to significantly extend or end and restart the TIF, since this remaining 12 years isn't going to be very attractive to most developers?
Both are possibilities. Both are possibilities. It could be declared a failed TIF. It could be ended, and at some point in the future, conceivably the village could engage in another TIF study, convene the joint review board, and go through the process of creating a new TIF. And by the same token, there's a mechanism by which a TIF district can be extended by 12 years, and that also would require the consent of taxing districts within the TIF, and that goes actually down to Springfield for state legislation. So that's a course of action that requires legislation at the state level. So it goes beyond just the village.
If they were to declare that a failure and to stop it, is it required to start a new one or no?
No, it's not required. No, but by the same token, a lot of the same reasoning why it became a TIF in 2004 would still apply.
Still exists.
Maybe even more so. Like I said, I didn't run through the whole thing, but there's extensive wetlands. There's numerous road improvements that would need to be made. It met with almost all of the blighting factors at the time. So you're right, there would be no requirement to do a new one. But however, a developer would most likely not move forward with any type of project without one.
All right, is there a motion to accept the 59 and Lake Street financial and development TIF reports?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Okay. Village of Bartlett,
yes.
Hanover Township,
Yes.
Bartlett Fire Protection District,
Yes?
Bartlett Public Library,
Yes.
Public Member, and Bartlett Park District.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
All right, let's move then to the third TIF, the Bluff City TIF, the financial report.
All right, thank you. Again, the Bluff City TIF is only in Kane County. So, again, this is for the year through April 30, 2015. Ending fund balance for the TIF was $3,910. Total property taxes, $13,594, and the total expenditures, $12,767. Basically, all the expenses was paying interest. As much money as comes in, we pay interest to Bluff City on the developer note. The kind of similar to the Brewster Creek TIF, the property taxes are split 94% to the project and just 6% to the municipal. And again, not listed on here, but part of it is the outstanding developer note, Total balance on that is $2,297,500, and that's due to Bluff City for work that they completed. There was no additional work done or added to the developer note during this year. The EAV for the district totals $1,823,000, and that's up from a base of $1,183,000. So that's why the increment is just only about $13,500 right now. The financial reports haven't caught up to the activity that's been going on out there, so that's why it's so small. Again, we filed the reports with the state. They're on the Illinois Comptroller's website if you want to see more of the details there. But that is the gist of the financials. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Brian, maybe I'll end up asking a question of you on this because this TIF is not in Bartlett Fire's Fire Protection District. So I would probably abstain?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Todd? All right, we can go with the development then.
Thanks, Mike. This is exciting to be able to report on some development after saying for quite a few years that development would be coming soon. If you recall, this TIF was structured in a similar way to Brewster Creek Business Park. So it was set up to pay for infrastructure to allow the development to come into the park. So the Southwind Business Park and Blue Heron Business Park parcels were approved as a TIF back in May of 2009. And this was to redevelop the Bluff City Quarry area into a mixed-use business park. Again, similar to Brewster Creek Business Park, but with the allowance of heavier industrial uses and also outdoor storage. So this TIF is scheduled to go into the year 2032. So it's got 16 more years to run. The project area is the southeast and northeast corners of West Bartlett Road and Route 25. The southern portion is the Southwind Business Park, and it consists of 27 acres. The northern portion is known as Blue Heron Business Park, and it consists of 4 parcels that cover approximately 115 acres. As Todd mentioned, this is all within the Kane County portion of the village. So to date, so far, the TIF fund has been primarily used for earthwork to the tune of $1.1 million and road work, $751,000. Last year at the Joint Review Board, I had reported that there was the first proposed building, and they had just commenced construction there. On the left, you see the photo that I showed you last year of a lot of dirt and a building being worked on for Traffic Services Incorporated. That's the first building, new building in this TIF district. And to the right, you see the picture of it today. Construction on a second building is well underway, nearing completion for another traffic control related company called Traffic Control and Protection. They're constructing a new 67,000 square foot facility, and this company is relocating from West Chicago and bringing their 80 employees here to Bartlett. The 2 photos you see there is the groundbreaking ceremony that was just a couple of months ago, and then to the right, the building as it looks this week. They were doing construction on it when I was there on Tuesday, and it was getting close to being completed. A third project is coming into the Bluff City TIF area. Elgin Beverage has been approved to construct a new facility in the Blue Heron Business Park. Here you see a rendering of their building. Will be an 80,000 square foot warehouse that will employ 40 people. And the site has room for a 40,000 square foot expansion. They're relocating from Elgin, as you may surmise by the name. They're keeping it Elgin Beverage. It's not going to be Bartlett Beverage, but they've been there for over 85 years. So we're happy to welcome them into our community. Right at the hard corner of this, at the southeast corner of Route 25 and West Bartlett Road, is being marketed as a retail slash commercial site. We've had a few inquiries on it of late. Fuel stations and that type of business have taken a look at it. It's a 6.27 acre site and being marketed by one of the leading retail brokers in the Chicago market, Rick Scardino of Lee and Associates. The remaining land that's not going to be retail, that's going to be more of the industrial projects, is being marketed by Abbott Land and Development. And as I mentioned, they market them as also available for outdoor storage space. A variety of heavier industrial uses already exist in the Bluff City area, including asphalt shingle recycling, a liquid asphalt plant, an active mine, and concrete products. And the redevelopment plan does allow for these type of heavier uses to go into the business park. So sometimes when our village is working with a business or with a broker that doesn't quite neatly fit into one of our other zoning districts or into Brewster Creek Business Park, we refer them out to the Bluff City TIF area, and that's how we got some of these businesses out there that have all the outdoor storage. So we're excited to see this business park developing and hope that it continues for years to come till it's built out. So any questions about development, Bluff City area?
Any questions? All right, I'll be looking for a motion then to accept the financial and development report on the Bluff City TIF district.
I'll move that we accept the financial report and the redevelopment activities for the Bluff City Southwind Business Park TIF.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion, questions? All right, please call the roll.
Okay. Village of Bartlett,
Yes?
public member. Park District?
Yes.
And did I miss any districts that are also in this? No. Area, okay.
All right, then the motion carries.
And you're reflecting in the minutes the abstention from the fire district.
Fire district and the library.
Fire, township, and
Library.
library, right.
They're all in there. Yeah.
Because it's Kane.
It's Kane.
Yeah. Is there any additional business for this meeting today?
Just thank everybody for coming.
Thank the village and the village staff, Tony and Todd and Brian and Jim. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Bartlett Plan Commission for August 11, 2016 at 7 p.m. Will the secretary call the roll?
Jim Lemberg?
Here.
Mark Hopkins?
Here.
Tim Ridenauer?
Here.
John Miasso? Diane Nagel? Austin Hopkins?
Here.
Jack Allen? Here. Jerry Callis? Tom Connor? Here. We have a quorum.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the June 9th, 2016 minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any corrections, discussions? Secretary, call the roll.
Austin Hopkins?
Yes.
Tim Ridenauer?
Yes.
Jim Lemberg?
Yes.
Mark Hopkins?
Yes.
Jack Allen?
Yes.
Tom Connor?
Abstain.
Next item on the agenda is the minutes for July 14th, 2016. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Is there any corrections or discussions? Anybody? I have a correction on page 23, line 18. It says Commissioner Lemberg made this statement, and I think it should be Commissioner Hopkins. Which one is it? So Lemberg was not in the room at the time. So we'll make a change on that one. Any other additions or corrections?
That was in the July meeting minutes?
Pardon?
I'm sorry, the July meeting minutes, you had that correction? Or the June ones?
Well, on here it had my name listed on there, making that,
He just wants to know which.
The July.
Okay, got it,
and take it out and put Mr. Hopkins' name in there.
got it.
Okay, that was on page, what did I say, 23? Number 18. Okay, we have a motion and second. No further discussion. Secretary, call the roll.
Tim Ridenhour,
Yes.
Jack Allen? Tom Connor?
Yes?
Jim Lemberg?
Yes.
Mark Hopkins?
Yes.
John Miasso? Austin Hopkins?
Abstain.
Okay.
Oh, and I got John, didn't I?
Adam?
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is case number 16-13, BAPS Phase 4, final PUD. Roberta, we have a little background?
Yep, sure. The 38-acre BAPS property was annexed to the village and rezoned in September of 2012. Phases 1, 2, and 3A were approved as part of a preliminary final PUD plan that included the existing building and expanded parking area. So you can see Phase 1. Phase 1 here. Phase 2 is the parking area here. And then 3A is the future parking area here. Phases 4, 5, and 6 were approved as part of the PUD in concept and identified on the phasing plan for the future development of the BAPS property. So phases 4, 5, and 6. The petitioner is now requesting a final PUD plan review for Phase 4, which would include the construction of a family activity center. This building, located north of the temple, would mirror the exterior appearance, size, height, and footprint of the existing cultural center located south of the temple. Per the building elevations, the overall height would be 53 feet and 4 inches, which is below the maximum height of 71 feet 9 inches of the existing temple. And the size of the building would be approximately 100,000 square feet. The Family Activity Center would consist of an indoor, let me move this along here. It's located here on the left. So here's the existing temple, existing cultural center, and then the proposed Phase 4. The Family Activity Center would consist of an indoor gymnasium, including a track and basketball court, boys and girls classrooms, a lounge, play area, youth workshop, exhibit display area, along with a number of offices and substantial storage space. A specialty kitchen and food prep area, along with the small prayer area, would be moved from the cultural center to the lower level of the youth activity center to free up space in the cultural center's lower level. Phase 3B has been completed and consisted of the BAPS property connecting to the village's water and sewer systems. These connections included both on-site and off-site improvements outlined in the annexation agreement. Phase 3A is the last phase of parking on the BAPS property and would include an additional 96 parking stalls. These spaces have not been completed due to this being the former septic field area. As required in the annexation agreement, this phase would need to be completed prior to the occupancy of the Phase 4 building, and the petitioner has agreed to this requirement. As stated in the annexation agreement, a traffic study was to accompany the Phase 4 application to verify that the parking needs on this property would be satisfied. A traffic study prepared by Gwalt Hamilton Associates has been submitted, and the village's traffic consultant, Brent Coulter, with Coulter Transportation Consulting, has reviewed and commented on the study. In summary, GHA states the proposed expansion is not anticipated to be a significant generator of new site traffic, but would serve the current site uses and demand. The new facility will provide extra space for the overcrowded girls' classrooms, the boys' instruction, which is taking place in the priest residences, and the dining area, which is currently too small to accommodate the Sunday activities. The Family Activity Center will allow for the current spaces in the Cultural Center to be utilized for their original intended uses. The petitioner has stated minimal activity will occur in the Family Activity Center during the week, and the primary use of the building will take place on Sundays when all of the facilities are being utilized simultaneously by existing guests and worshipers. So as part of the PUD, the petitioner, let me put up the site plan here. Okay, this is the layout of the entire facility. Again, phase 4 is here. And then the existing parking here. Phase 3A, the future parking is here for the 96 spaces. So as part of the PUD, the petitioner would be requesting a modification to reduce the required number of parking spaces by 334. The zoning ordinance would require 410 additional parking spaces for the new building and its uses. However, once those 96 parking spaces are constructed, as I just showed on phase 3A, the parking on the site would total 821 spaces. These additional spaces will provide for an increase in available parking of approximately 29% above the current peak demand of 637 vehicles. Future peak parking in the year 2020 will be 757 parking spaces, still below the 821 provided. According to GHA, the proposed on-site parking supply will accommodate the peak parking demand on-site for approximately 7 more years. With the historical demand and membership growth at 3.5% annually, the 821 spaces should accommodate the peak on-site parking for this time period. The village's consultant, Coulter Transportation, concurs with the majority of GHA's findings and agrees that the petitioner makes a strong argument that parking demand may in some instances be double counted and some adjustment of the aggregate parking required by the strict parking requirements outlined in the zoning ordinance is appropriate. Staff concurs with Coulter's comments and believes that the Family Activity Center will primarily be double counting those currently attending Sunday services and that the strict interpretation of the zoning ordinance provides a hardship for the petitioner. The village's consultant also states that it may be important to look at providing an additional parking supply in 3 to 4 years rather than the 7, and conditions for future parking on phase 5, which is the future commercial, may need to be reviewed sooner so that future demand for parking can be met in a timely manner. As in the past, during special events, festivals, overflow parking was available on the future Yogi Plaza site, and arrangements were made with St. Andrew's Golf Course, Resurrection Church, and Bartlett High School that provided additional parking with groups being bused to the Mandir site during these infrequent peak times. There is one existing curb cut along Route 59 for ingress and egress to the temple property. However, when the future commercial phases are developed, additional curb cuts may be provided along Army Trail Road, which would provide additional access to both the future Yogi Plaza and the existing BAPS Mandir site. Landscaping lighting plans have been reviewed and have been approved by the staff, and therefore staff recommends approval of the petitioner's request for a final PUD plan subject to the conditions and the findings of fact outlined in your staff report. Petitioners are here tonight too, by the way.
Any questions from staff?
Just really quick, so the phase 3 parking has to be done before they can get the occupancy permit for phase 4?
That is correct, yes.
So more than likely they'll be doing the parking lot first, or do we not, or is it?
You can ask them that question.
All right.
Is a petitioner here this evening?
Yes, they are.
Yes, would you care to add to the report? Would you state your name and address, please?
Yes, I'm Janet Johnson. I'm from Schiff Hardin in Chicago. I'm the attorney for BAPS. And I'll answer that question. The plan is to construct it pretty much at the same time. The building will take much longer to build than the parking. So depending on weather and when they start construction of the building versus, what weather conditions are, they'll phase that parking in, but they know that it has to be done before they can occupy.
Is there any drainage concerns? I know when this came before us before, that with that retention pond and everything like that, there was talk of possible drainage issues. Is there any concerns?
There haven't been any issues or problems. They did do some work on the pond to expand the capacity a little bit. The materials that we supplied showed that the capacity of that stormwater detention basin is still way over what's necessary for this additional building. In fact, it was intended to supply stormwater for phases 5 and 6 as well. So there shouldn't be any more issues with that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mine is more for Roberta. Back in 2012, we did the original approval of the site plan. We gave a preliminary approval to 4 and 5, and this is the final today?
We gave a conceptual, yes, approval of 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
Or no, I should just say, is it just 4?
4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Because 5 and 6 didn't have a plan.
Right, it's just yes.
Or just
Any further questions? And we'll be looking for a motion for approval of the petitioner's request for a final PUD plan for Phase 4, subject to the conditions and findings of fact.
So moved.
Second?
Is there further discussion?
I have one question. Did we have, in 2012, did we have a conceptualization of Phase 4 building? So there isn't any major changes?
There's no change.
Yeah.
It was the picture that the color rendering I'd shown you. I'm looking for it now. I've got a lot of slides, sorry. This was the concept elevation here.
All right.
The intent all along was to make it a mirror image of the building on the other side, and that has not changed.
I'm sort of remembering.
Yeah.
And then basically conceptually it was the phasing plan, which is here. So the layout, we necessarily didn't have an exact layout of 5 and 6, but the concept was for it to be commercial.
So not only are there no significant changes, there really aren't any changes.
No, correct. They will be bringing a final plan for you to review.
All right.
Okay. Yep. Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and second. Will Secretary call the roll?
Tom Connor,
Yes.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
Tim Ridenhour,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Jim Lemberg. Motion carried.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's it. Let's go home. Let's see how this thing goes here.
Next item on the agenda is number 16-05, Ashton Gardens, preliminary final PUD plan and special uses for planned unit development, a banquet facility, public assembly, serving of liquor, and a building height. This is a public hearing. If anyone wishes to make a comment or statement or questions, we have witness forms back there where the clock is. You have to fill that out and hand it in to Jim. If we already had that subject brought up, we don't need to repeat anything. So if it's mentioned once, that's good enough. If anybody has a speaker for this whole group, that'll be great. Otherwise, we'll just take whoever fills out a witness form. Okay. Roberta, we have all the notifications?
Yes, picture of the sign and notification.
Okay. And all these emails in our packet, they're exhibits?
I would like to enter those as Exhibit D, and then we could number them, so D1, D2, since there's quite a few that we received today. Is that okay? All right. And then also on the dais, I placed a revised color rendering of the landscape plan. If we could enter that as Exhibit E. Okay.
Roberta, would you like to give us some background?
This property was annexed to the village in 1963 and was zoned manufacturing. I don't have a map showing that, but the manufacturing zoning district was actually this square here on the map. In 1978, the subject property was rezoned to the B3 Neighborhood Commercial Zoning District, and the property to the south and west of this commercial site was rezoned to the R2 Single Family Zoning District. In 1988, Ordinance 88-104 approved a site plan for the commercial property, which was reduced in size to accommodate additional single-family lots to the south. So basically what happened is this B3 district here, a line went across to reduce the size to enable them to put homes in this location here. And this is the site plan that was approved back in 1988. It shows a commercial strip center here, a loading area here, and contains 143 parking spaces. This ordinance also approved the preliminary PUD plan for the East Point Estates subdivision, which consisted of 59 detached single-family lots. And up on your screen is that recorded plat of subdivision. And you can see the commercial center, when this was recorded, was also recorded as part of this. So here's the commercial site, and here are the 59 lots. This is the location map, aerial photo of the property today, shown as B3, and then the surrounding residential to the south and to the west. The petitioner is requesting a preliminary final PUD plan for review for a wedding and special event facility catering exclusively to high-end wedding ceremonies and receptions. The plan includes a chapel, reception banquet hall, and small office to be located on the 3.8-acre piece of vacant property located at the southwest corner of Devon and Prospect Avenues. The petitioner currently has similar venues in Houston and Dallas, Texas, as well as Sugar Hill, Georgia, and 3 projects under development review in Cedar Park, Texas, Marietta, Georgia, and here in Bartlett. The petitioner is also requesting special uses for a plan unit development. This plan unit development is due to 3 principal structures located on 1 zoning lot, a reception banquet hall, which is the place of assembly, and the serving of liquor and building height, which is the chapel that stands at 35 feet 3.5 inches, or will stand at 35 feet 3.5 inches. The 14,367 square foot reception banquet hall would have a maximum capacity of 300 guests. The building would be constructed with off-white stucco veneer on 3 exterior elevations and hardy plank siding in white along the rear west elevation. Cast stone columns and a canopy would provide an inviting and elegant front entrance for the guests. The roof line would have a decorative cornice and parapet wall with white railing baluster accents, which would screen the rooftop mechanicals. This reception hall would be 28 feet at its highest point, while the majority of the building would be 22 feet in height. The chapel, consisting of 4,576 square feet, would have a maximum capacity of 252 guests. The building would consist of an off-white ephes and Texas white limestone veneer exterior with a gray shingled roof. Arched decorative windows as well as an arched entrance door would accent the front elevation. The highest point of the chapel would be 35 feet 3.5 inches, with the lower roof line sitting at 15 feet 7 inches. The office building, consisting of 1,337 square feet, would architecturally complement the reception hall and chapel buildings, incorporating the off-white ephes on the exterior, the decorative columns along the front elevation, and the gray shingles on the roof. The overall height of this building would be 15 feet 7 inches. The hours of operation would be Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. for primarily touring the facilities. If an event were to be scheduled, it would typically end before midnight. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday hours would typically be from 9 a.m. until 12:30 a.m. An event may last longer if a patron pays for the extra time. The petitioner has agreed to reduce the hours on Sunday to close at 10:30 rather than the original 12:30 a.m. And no outdoor events will take place on the site. Liquor service would end a half hour prior to the scheduled event end time, and rarely would there be Sunday evening events. The petitioner would be requesting a special use permit to serve beer, wine, and liquor, and would be applying for a Class A liquor license. The hours for the license would be Sunday through Thursday, 8 a.m. until 1 a.m. Friday and Saturday hours would be from 8 a.m. until 2 a.m. And the petitioner does understand they can only serve alcohol during the time specified by the Class A liquor license. I'm going to go back to the PUD plan here. A 4-foot-high decorative metal fence is proposed along the north and east property lines, so along Devon and Prospect, with gates across each entrance drive for security when the facilities are closed. Emergency responders would have access to the lock boxes at these locations. Trees and an 8-foot-high solid wood fence would be located along the south and west property lines. The plan identifies 3 access points, 2 along Devon and 1 along Prospect. The far west curb cut along Devon would allow for loading and garbage pickup only, while the second access located further east is shown as a right-in, right-out for guests to enter and exit the site. I just would like to point out that Devon Avenue is under the jurisdiction of DuPage County, which has required this curb cut to be a right-in, right-out. The Prospect Avenue curb cut would allow for full ingress and egress at this location. A 2-way drop-off and pickup drive is located directly in front of both the chapel and the reception hall. So this drive here is 2-way, the front of the reception hall here and the front of the chapel here, which would accommodate those guests requiring easier access to the entrances of each building. A traffic study by Erickson Engineering Associates has been submitted for the staff to review, and the village's traffic consultant, Brent Coulter of Coulter Transportation Consulting, has reviewed and commented on the study. In summary, Erickson states that, quote, the Devon Prospect intersection operates at a level of service B, and this development will not have an adverse impact on the intersection. The Devon access would be 220 feet west of Prospect, and the Prospect access will be 300 feet south of Devon. Both will operate well within the projected traffic volumes of these uses. Weddings and receptions will primarily be held on Friday and Saturday evenings after the peak hour of 5 to 6 p.m. The village's traffic consultant concurs with the applicant's traffic study, stating that both Devon and Prospect are low-volume streets and that left and right turn lanes do not appear to be warranted at the site's access drives. The petitioner is requesting variances. Now, these will be reviewed and discussed at the Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing. I included them in your memo, and I thought I should still go over them because they are part of the PUD. So, the petitioner is requesting a variation to allow for a reduction in the required number of parking spaces. This request is primarily due to the fact that the zoning ordinance requires parking to be calculated for each individual use. So the office use would require 5 spaces, the chapel would require 63 spaces, and the reception hall would require 90. And does not count for multiple uses sharing parking on one site. As a result, the zoning ordinance would require 158 total parking spaces. This PUD plan identifies 135 spaces, 23 short of the requirement. Based upon the petitioner's observations at their other venues currently in operation, they believe 125 spaces would be the maximum number needed for this site. This is due in part that many guests will be proceeding directly from the chapel to the reception hall, and that the zoning ordinance double counts these patrons. The petitioner states that the 135 spaces provided on this plan are more than adequate to meet their needs. Staff concurs and believes that those attending the chapel service will primarily be double counted, and that the strict interpretation of the zoning ordinance provides a hardship for the petitioner. If the 63 required spaces for the chapel are deleted because of double counting, the calculation would be as follows. So the office would require 5 spaces once again, and the reception hall would require 90. So that would be a total of 95 spaces versus the 158 required for all 3 individual uses. Okay? However, staff believes the 30 employees at the reception hall should be included in the required parking calculations in addition to the 300 maximum occupancy. And as a result, the revised calculation, according to staff, should be the office again 5, and the reception hall should be 99. And therefore, the more realistic requirement would fall to 100, well, actually would increase to 104 total spaces. Coulter concurs that double counting may occur. However, he suggests particular attention be given to the scheduling of events to provide a sufficient time gap to allow those leaving a wedding and not attending a reception to have adequate time to leave, and for reception guests to arrive without an overlap. He also states that because no overflow parking will be allowed on either Devon or Prospect Avenues, and it would seem obvious to most visitors to not park on Devon, that no parking signs may be needed to be posted on Prospect due to its more residential feel. The staff has requested the petitioner contact landowners within close proximity to the site to secure an additional 20 to 30 parking spaces for overflow parking. At the time that this was written, there hadn't been a decision or an outcome on that, and the petitioner can speak on this when they present their case, but they have acquired an additional 50 parking spaces from an adjoining property owner, and which would bring their total, in case they need an overflow parking, to 185 spaces. Landscape variations being requested include a reduction from the interior parkway requirement from 20 feet to 16 feet along Devon Avenue in this section only, right here. And to allow 1 tree rather than 2 trees on each double parking island. So each of these islands is considered a double parking island. And according to the landscape ordinance, 2 trees would be required on each of these islands. And the petitioner has requested that only 1 tree be allowed on each one of these islands. And after discussions with the staff, he has agreed that the 7 trees that he originally would like to eliminate, he has agreed to plant those 7 trees along the south and west property lines for an added buffer along the property. Revised engineering, landscaping, lighting, and truck turning plans are currently being reviewed by the staff, and the staff does recommend approval of the petitioner's request, subject to the conditions and the findings of fact outlined in your staff report. And the petitioners are here tonight.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions, staff, at this time?
Just a quick question on the Class A liquor license. What that has to do with deal with the time, so they can go to 2 a.m. on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
No, just Friday and Saturday.
Just Friday and Saturday. Is there like a Class B? Would that be a different timing then? Different time?
Yes, and it's a different type of liquor license.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else have a question for staff?
Historically, for the parking requirements, it's basically 1 to 3 for capacity?
For the reception hall? It's at 30% of the capacity is how you calculate the parking.
Found that to be sufficient.
Yes.
Petitioner here this evening? Would you care to stand and get sworn in, and anyone else that's going to give testimony? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge? Yes, I do. Thank you. Would you care to add anything to staff? I will. Or would you come up here, please, and state your name and... Or up here, okay.
Thank you, Brad Schreiber, partner, president of Ashton Gardens. I think it might be best I do have some information prepared in a lot of responses and in addition to the presentation, so I think I'd like to reserve my time till after the public gets their opportunity to speak.
Okay.
Because a lot of this will be in response to, I'm sure, what the concerns are going to be expressed.
So any questions? Okay. So none of the others have anything to say at this time? No. Okay. Members have any questions for the petitioner?
Reserved to wait.
Who's talking? No, not yet.
I think, might I propose that I go ahead and go through my presentation and might answer some of the questions, maybe save some time, and y'all might be able to prepare a little bit better in case my information isn't satisfactory. Does that work?
Okay. No questions from commissioners?
Not until after his presentation.
After that, right? Okay, at this time, I'm going to open up to the public. Again, if you have one spokesperson, that would be great. If not, the witness forms are in the back. Fill those out. You have 3 minutes to make your comment, questions. We'd rather not have the same things brought up over and over again. If it was said once, that's fine. So if you want to hand your papers in. Jim, do we have any?
Yes. I thought that you were going to give your presentation.
That's what I thought.
I did too.
That's what I thought.
And then let the public. That's what I heard.
Yeah. And then
Can I ask for it? You didn't see anything.
He changed his mind.
He changed his mind. Okay. So you do your presentation then. Is that what you want to do?
Might save a lot of time. Hopefully it will.
Okay.
First of all, thank you very much for members of the Planning Committee and the public for showing up. Progress with pride. I'm going to start with that. That's the slogan of the credo for the village. This is progress. We feel, and I'll state my case here, that this is progress at its best. It's a thriving business in all of the other locations we have. We're actually have been approached by at least one neighboring city once word got out that we were, it's quite public, once word got out that we're really targeting Bartlett for our facility. We actually got a call from a neighboring city expressing interest in it. We said, let us do our due diligence, and hopefully we can land here and may not have to return that phone call. We hope. So again, progress. Progress means going forward. It means making headway. It means advancing. I think that's one of the goals anywhere that we've gone, and most of our properties, current and under development, are in outskirts of larger cities, in smaller, if you will, towns, in neighboring towns. It works well for us. The locations that we pick are accessible in the market. The reason why we picked Bartlett, and many of the residents that are here tonight may have heard this at the last presentation. The west and northwest part of the Chicago area is really a perfect spot for us. We would attract business from north and east from here, and also south down towards Naperville and the like, and maybe even further west. So it's a great location for us. We have found that in all of our locations that we're use the word loosely, but a city regional destination. People travel to get to an Ashton Gardens for typically a wedding, in some cases 30, 40 miles. It is an extremely unique concept in that it is not just a reception facility. We don't like to use the word hall, but a reception facility. But given the fact that it's got the chapel, and quite a beautiful chapel there, it really meets the needs of a unique need of the wedding industry, and that is that you can get married and have a reception in one place. It is the number one reason why, besides how beautiful it is and all the other great stuff we have going for us, it's another number one reason that our guests give for seeking out Ashton Gardens and visiting us to start with. I'll give some statistics on what we have to offer the community that we go into. We expect that a facility in this location of this size and capacity will generate revenues somewhere upwards of $3 million. There's some tax money in there for the city, for the county, et cetera. In addition to that, every event, every wedding has a DJ or a band, mostly a DJ, cakes, florists, photographers, officiates. All of that generates another just shy of $1 million in revenue. Now, the important part about that is that those trades are local. We develop what we call a preferred vendor list, and we have a couple of each of those, a couple of DJs, a couple of local cake bakers, photographers, officiates, et cetera. And they're typically in or right around the community. We like to use local trades for our recommended vendors. They don't have to select them, but we found that about 40% of our weddings use the local vendors that we recommend. So calculated, that's about $980,000 more in revenue. We generate somewhere right around 2,000 room nights a year for local hotels. That is somewhere in the $300,000 range. All of this money produces sales tax for the cities and counties that they're in. So we're talking somewhere in the mid $4 million worth of revenue generated. Some may not see this as a plus, but we host about 1,000 tours a year, and tours is brides and grooms to visit our property, to look at our facility as a potential location for their wedding. That's 1,000 tours. We host and those are people coming that will come experience this area, that will buy goods in this area, journey to and from Ashton Gardens. It's also we expect to host about conservatively, maybe not more than that, but a couple of hundred weddings a year. That equates to about 30,000 guests. What does that do for Bartlett? The other locations, in particular similar to Bartlett, Sugar Hill, Georgia, and Corinth, Texas, see money spent in the community, in restaurants, certainly if they stay in hotels, they have to eat, they have to buy gas, they have sundries, they have other things that expenses that are expended. So there's 30,000 people plus the tours that will visit this community that may not otherwise do so. So there's a lot of residual spending besides what is just generated by Ashton Gardens. The other towns that we're in, the other cities, see that as a plus, have experienced it as a plus. It is exceptionally important to us that we are great stewards of our business, of being great neighbors, of giving back to the community and being available to the community. In Corinth, Texas, for example, the police department, not just in Corinth, but in the county, every year has an awards banquet and such. Well, we do that at our cost. We host events for church groups and for the city. Every year, the city of Corinth has a holiday party for their staff. Those things can get expensive. We do those at cost. We try to give back. So we want to be good neighbors. We've proven to be good neighbors and good stewards of our business. We do have, while I'm on that, Roberta, can you find the letters, testimonial letters, please?
Which letters?
It starts at the very end. Well, if we start with the current letter.
Those letters are not on this PowerPoint.
Oh, they're not?
No.
Oh, that's too bad. Okay, well.
They are in their packet, so
Okay.
they did receive them.
So for the public's knowledge, we have a letter from the city manager of Corinth, Texas. I won't bore you with reading it all, but it says that we're a premier venue in the community, that we attract a significant amount of visitors and corporate businesses to the area, and we're very good neighbors to the surrounding area. We also have a letter from the Homeowners Association of, Oakmont Country Club Property Owners Association, which is what is directly adjacent to our property, that backs up directly to our property, similar to the south side of the property here, and they praise our. Is that it? Oh, that's our Houston property. I'll get to that in a minute. But basically, they praise us as being good neighbors. They discuss the cleanliness, the maintenance of our property, and they also state that they have not experienced in the 5 years we've been there noise, any type of criminal activity, any type of interference in their day-to-day lives. That is from the Properties Association of Oakmont in Corinth. Also have a letter from the city manager of Sugar Hill, Georgia, and also, which is really most concerning here, Inverness Forest Homeowners Association, which represents the neighborhood right around our Houston property, which we've been there for over 11 years now, and not a single incident has occurred there. So we have testimonials from your counterparts, the public's counterparts, at these locations, stating that we're good neighbors, we do a good job, we're conscientious, and that sort of stuff. There's been a one of the questions that has come up was in the matter of property values. I read it in some emails, and at the last public meeting, it was brought up a number of times. This is an analysis of the property values around our Dallas property, which is going on 6 years. And these are homes that are directly adjacent to the property and a block away, in some cases, or across the street, if you will, from the properties that abut our property. You can see that the overall average has gone up almost 19%. Now, I'm not saying that because Ashton Gardens is there that it went up 19%. But what I'm saying is that the property values did not go down, and certainly would not have gone down as a result of Ashton Gardens. There's another property value analysis. Houston North. Now, this is a real interesting analysis. The Houston North property, again, going on, being there for over 11 years. This is not the best area of the northern part of Houston. Used to be, but it's not a bad place. It's just not the best place. The home values there are in the mid ones and lower to mid ones. Property value there, and this is outside the city. That is actually not far from a major tollway. So they've increased 17%. It's important that we presented this to show those who are concerned that Ashton Gardens doesn't, although we're not taking credit for the positive effect, we're saying there was no negative effect. And certainly not in the 11 years that we were, 11 plus years around Houston North. So I hope that is helpful to those that have that concern. The properties that we have, and it's stated in the letters, and do we have the landscape plan in there? If we, for 1 minute, let our guard down, and with an investment of this size, if we let our guard down and don't maintain the property, wedding facilities are selected on very cerebral at first, mostly by the brides, and that is, how does it look? You know, it's got to be a beautiful, unique, clean. It's got to satisfy all of these visual and cerebral needs that the bride has. And not only have we complied with the landscape ordinance, but we have far exceeded it. You can see that around the chapel, around the reception building, in front of, at the west part of the parking lot where the handicap parking is, this is all extra stuff that to beautify the property. We will have a local landscape maintenance company that will be in charge of the beautification of our property. And by the way, we're using a local landscape architect and landscape company to do the design, installation, and maintenance. So this is going to be a beautiful site. We think this is going to be one of the prettier sites, actually. So from it's something that we can be proud of. It's something that the village can be proud of. It's just going to be a beautiful location. It's going to be very private once you enter the site, because around the perimeter, we're putting in arborvitaes? I'm not arborvitaes? Arborvitae. Okay. We use something else down south. But all the way around the perimeter, we're required to put in the trees that you see that have the round canopy. Everything else is in addition. It's so that the arrival experience to the property, the visual from the outside, and especially once you arrive on the property, you get that feeling of privacy and with the evergreens and all of that around. So the beauty of the facility is very important. We have full-time housekeeping and maintenance staff, because in our business, if we don't look as good or better than our website, in trouble. You get found out really quick. We try to look better. The website attracts people. We try to look better than the website. So our investment in the visuals of this property far exceeds what's required by the ordinance and is really exceptionally important to us. And one of the main reasons is that we want the community to be proud of this site. It's not just a parking lot and putting grasses and trees in the parking islands and all that. It's far beyond that. So we believe that it's something that we can all be proud of, and hopefully visited by you guys quite a bit too throughout the time. Real quick, I'll just touch on a few others. A traffic study. Roberta went through that. This is something that is required of us to, how's that? That's required of us to perform so that the village can, make sure that we comply. So according to the traffic studies, there'll be no negative impact. And one of the concerns, which I truly understand, one of the concerns was that possibly when guests are exiting Prospect onto Prospect, that might go through the neighborhood. The way the traffic study, and there's a bunch of stuff that I don't understand, but parsing it out, the access is going to be, the great majority of it is going to be off of Devon and a very small percent off of Prospect. So there's really no need, unless somebody gets lost and goes through the neighborhood to get there, they won't know how to get there when they're leaving. So they'll use the main drive of Devon Avenue. That's what the traffic study calls out. As far as parking goes, let's keep that up. We have had conversations with Senior Flexonics, and they have 50 parking spaces right in front of their property, and they have agreed to let us use that for overflow. We'll provide, we'll use it, if we ever need it, we'll use it for our staff first, and then after that, if we need it, we'll use it for guests, and shuttle at our expense, guests, across the street as needed. That takes the number of parking spaces up to 185. We have our facility in Sugar Hill, Georgia, our capacity is 400. We have 172 parking spaces there, have never used them all. And we can't have overflow because we're on a main 4-lane thoroughfare. So where we are, there's literally nowhere else to go. We have never exceeded that number. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we would love to do weddings of 300 every day. It just doesn't happen that way. The average size wedding is somewhere right around 150, and we have, pardon me just a moment while I find my notes. At our Atlanta property, again, where we seat 400 maximum, we did 240 events last year in 2015. 15 events exceeded 250 count, 15 the whole year. Our average there is 156. The average in the Chicago market, which includes all of Chicago, and the weddings are larger. The inner city weddings, if you will, those that go to the big hotels and the private clubs and such, the city clubs downtown are larger events and much more expensive events. Those don't even exceed 200 on average, but they're higher than what we would expect to have. So I say that to refer back to the parking at 185 available spaces. It's really more than adequate. We did that in response to the concerns of the community about the parking. We don't want people parking on the streets. We don't want to have the village install no parking signs where the residents can't use the street, right? There's no reason to restrict the residents from using the legal parking areas now. There's no reason to restrict that if we can do otherwise, and that's why we work with Senior Flexonics and agree to let us use those 50 parking spaces. So we feel that that's really, that was a huge hurdle for us. It was a big concern for us, only that it was one of the major concerns for the residents. All right, let's talk about noise. Let me go back to the parking and traffic. One more note. Statistically, 10 to 15% of the guests that attend a wedding at Ashton Gardens, it's fairly typical, I guess, of all weddings really, but particularly with Ashton Gardens, 10 or 15% of the guests are from out of town. They stay in local hotels. Many don't rent cars. Many ride with friends or relatives that are local. One of the requirements for our recommended hotel is that they have shuttle service to and from the hotel, or to and from Ashton Gardens. So that greatly reduces the number of cars. So if you take, let's call it 10%, if you take 30 people out of the capacity, that's fewer cars. Also, 5% of the guests at a wedding at any given time are children. And except in Texas, where they can drive tractors at any age, kids don't drive. And you see it, by the way. You know, it's okay to do that there. I'm not really sure why still, but you can. So that also is an aid to the traffic problem and the parking problem, if you will. All right. Thank you for your indulgence while I'm going through all of this. Let's talk about noise. In both of our testimonials from the homeowners associations at the two properties I referenced earlier, they both state that there has never been a noise problem. We have never gotten a call from a neighbor saying that we were too loud. Now, there are people who will hoot and holler, as we say down in Texas, you know, out in the parking lot, or maybe cheering when the bride and groom leave. It's a very, very short period of time when that happens. As far as hearing the music, which I think a lot we're concerned with, that just simply doesn't happen. If we can go to a decibel study. We did a decibel study in response to the concerns. And this isn't the first one we've done. This is the third time we've done it because of very similar concerns at the other, at two of our other locations. So here's what we did. Here's the criteria for the decibel study. We took it at the peak dance time during a wedding, which is when the music is typically the loudest. The DJ's back is to the center divider wall. I'll show you that in just a moment. And the DJ is facing an exterior wall of the property where an exit door is. Not the main door, but the side exit door. Can we go to the Houston West? There you go. Now, this is Google Maps, so they don't have a current one. This is when we were under construction. But
We have this one. This is current.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, way to go. How'd you get that?
We're good.
You are.
In there.
All right. So you can see the proximity of the houses to the building. And again, this is a larger facility. It seats 400. If we can show the floor plan that shows the locations of the DJs and the bands. Okay. So the room is divisible in half. So we can do two weddings, not at the same time. They never occur at the same time. Typically, we don't. In a facility this size, typically we'll have one wedding at a time. But let's say, for this example, that we have the divider walls closed in the center and the location of the DJ on either side. Now, the back is to the divider wall, and the DJ and the speakers are facing the exit door to the far right in the center. Okay? And know that we don't allow DJs or bands just to blow it out. First of all, you know, with guests in the room, guests won't be able to talk. Grandmas won't be, won't be able to take it, and frankly, our staff can't function if we just let a DJ. And by the way, DJs think the only reason why anyone's having a wedding is so they can come watch them. And if you let them, they'll behave in such a way. So we monitor the level of the volume of the DJ and the bands so that it's comfortable for the guests. And as a result, if you look at the top of the building, that's our back of the house. That's the kitchen. That's a storage area. That's a service corridor. So certainly the houses that are behind there, music ain't getting through there. You know, there's just no way that sound is going to get through the kitchen, et cetera. And the exterior walls of the building are very highly insulated, as are the few windows that are along each side. So let's look at the position of the band. Let's get that slide. For that page? Okay. So if we're using the full ballroom, which will be the majority of the time, the DJ or the band is playing to the front of the building with it back to the back of the building. So all of the sound is going that way. So now it's important, now that you know how we have our setup, our decibel readings, if we can go back to the Houston West property. Let's put yours. Yeah, yours is better. Okay. So we took decibel readings at different locations. We took it inside the room. So inside the ballroom, if you remember the half ballroom where the DJ was in the middle playing, if you will, or the side where the exit door is, which is really the only way that sound is going to get out of the building on that side. In the room, our decibel reading was somewhere between 96 and 100 decibels. And just so you know that for that, at that rate, that's about 3 feet away from the speaker in a nightclub. So it makes sense. So the sound is typical there. We took another reading directly outside the ballroom with the door closed, and 25 feet from the exit door, we had our decibel level 74 to 80, which according to sound experts, sound ratings, it's about somewhere between a close alarm clock and a vacuum cleaner. So the building is very well insulated, and you might be able to hear it, but it's not going to be very loud. The further away we got, we took one 75 feet from the exit door, because again, that would be the closest point that the music would exit the building. The decibel level was somewhere around 70 to 74. Again, about the sound of a vacuum cleaner. We did one 130 feet from it in the far top corner, if you will, and that was the same as the 75 feet. The reason for that is because there is a street, Clay Road, very similar to Devon, and it's picking up the traffic noise there. Traffic is about, a semi-busy local street is about 70 decibels. So if you can hear, you'll be hearing the cars in your backyard of your house before you're going to hear the music. So I hope that addressed it. I mean, we really paid close attention to this. Again, it's the third time we've done it. We know how important it is. We wanted to report back with our findings on that. And we just did this more recently because this building is the same shape and design, just a little bit smaller than the one that we'll be building here. I'm trying to cover the concerns. I did notice, just as I have a note here, it was brought to my attention and it was shown to me today that the Bartlett area moms Facebook, are y'all familiar with that? Yeah. There were the first 6 postings on that Facebook page were positive for Ashton Gardens. They were very objective. And if you're part of that, please look at the page. I was kind of surprised when I was shown that. But basically discussing progress, saying that, the surrounding, one example was that use Schaumburg as an example where progress has married very well with local residents and the city has thrived from new businesses. And so I didn't have a whole lot of positive stuff in my holster coming in, but that was a nice surprise to see, and I thought I'd bring it to your attention, and I invite you to take a look at that. So, a couple of other things that, and I'm getting there, I promise, and I indulgence. This property will generate 40 plus or minus probably plus, but plus or minus full and part-time jobs, with the exception of 2 positions, which will be upper management positions, which we would transfer from another property. Everybody will be local. We have high school kids. I'm sure there's some high school kids in the neighborhood. We have single moms. We have retired folks. We have a lot of kids, especially on our service staff and that work in the kitchen. So I would submit that if you have teenage kids or kids going to college and they're living in the area, they would be just prime for us to employ. The wages will contribute about $700,000 a year to the working community. Although we have the liquor license we're applying for, which there's only a couple of choices really that meet our needs, can go till 2 o'clock in the morning. I can't remember the last time we had an event that went past 12:30. The typical ending time on a Friday or Saturday night is 12:30. If somebody wants to go later, they can buy up to an hour, but no more than that, and that doesn't happen very often because, you know, you're spending another $500 for a half a dozen people that want to stick around. You know, so although we can serve till 2 o'clock, we virtually never do. Our alcohol service training, and I'll touch on that. I know liquor consumption is also a big concern. Besides the state of Illinois requiring all service staff and managers to be to fall under their certification, we have one as well that includes not just service staff but everybody. It is so much more comprehensive and so much more awareness-driven than just, you know, what the state requires. Because on a practical level, require every server, every manager, if there's a salesperson on site, and there's also a coordinator that every wedding is assigned to. Everybody is looking after any type of questionable behavior, especially related to alcohol. Our bartenders are trained even more intensely than the service staff because they're the first line of defense. Everybody that needs a drink or wants a drink has to go to the bar, so the bartender sees them. We limit the number of drinks. We don't do shots. We have cut people off before because we thought they had too much to drink and they had pink eye. We just don't mess around with liquor service for a lot of reasons. Our guest safety, the neighborhood safety, and frankly, you know, we can't afford to risk anything happening with our liquor license. People do drink. You know, there's professionals out there like me that do it for a living, and it might take you a little while to figure me out, but because I've had a lot of practice at it, but eventually, you know, we figure it out. And we have not had a single incident in 11 years serving over 1.5 million people. In 11 years, I take it 1.2 million, excuse me. In 11 years, we have not had a single incident. Why is that? Mostly because of our awareness in our service and our training, and we have pre-shift meetings before every event. Every pre-shift meeting, we talk about alcohol awareness. We also have every other location, we have off-duty police officers. We do. Our director of security for the company has aligned us with a security company here in Chicago that employs retired or off-duty police officers. Those guys know the law. You know, those guys are there to assist us, number one. And again, if there's any questionable behavior, we've never had a fight. We don't allow guns. I don't care if you're licensed to carry. You don't get to bring it in. The only guy with a gun is an off-duty police officer, and we just don't allow it. The police officer there is also there to ensure that we don't disturb the neighbors, that people who are able to leave on their own and are safe, and those who aren't, we find them a way home, either with friends or relatives, and on countless occasions, we have paid for transportation, Uber, taxi, whatever that might be. We just don't mess around with alcohol service. Now, that's not to say that one day somebody's going to outsmart us, but I hope they don't. But we take every possible precaution we can, and one of the key concerns is the safety and the solitude and the peace of the community that we're in. And so far, we're doing pretty good at it. We end our bar service 30 minutes before the event ends. We don't want somebody walking up to the bar and going, thanks a lot, and then going out to their car. We also don't give last call. All that does is send 150 people to the bar, and we don't want that. First of all, service is going to be terrible, and our reputation will be shot, for that event. But we don't want people to know when the bar ends, so they, so they're rushing at the last minute to get a drink. That doesn't serve anybody's purpose whatsoever, and we've never had an issue with that from that standpoint. This process has, for any of you guys who have been involved in something like this is no inexpensive, nor is it an easy task. We have our engineers here tonight. We have to hire engineers, architects, hydrologists, landscape architects. Right now, in full disclosure, we've invested over $150,000 so far just preparing for this. We are required to uphold certain things from a legal standpoint and from local ordinances set out by the village. This is, if we didn't really believe in this location, in this town, in the potential of what our business could be here, we'd have been down the road somewhere. But it's a perfect prospect for us, and we have done everything that's been asked of us, and then some by the village. We've listened to your concerns. I hope I've addressed them. Hopefully, I didn't forget any. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we really are trying to be good stewards of our business and good neighbors and good community representatives, and and I don't know a whole lot about the history of Bartlett. I don't know what I've been privy to to see a couple of businesses in my visits here on an official level that are coming in or expanding or what have you, like the one we had earlier this evening. But I think this is what progress with pride means. I think this is progress. I think it's a very high quality product. It's a very large investment on our part. We have only the best professionals in the industry working for us. Our level of integrity is unmatched by anybody. Our employee retention is huge. And we just think that this would be really great. I appreciate everybody's concerns. I appreciate everybody taking time out tonight to come indulge me and let me tell you all of this. I know that there's 40,000 more residents in Bartlett, and they also would be beneficiaries of what we could bring to the village. And so with that, I thank you all for the time and attention.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commissioners?
I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
You're Schreiber, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just wanted to get that part right.
Thank you.
Immediately. Roberta, could you go
go back to the overhead of the Clay Street facility, Clay Road facility. And if this new facility is going to be very similar to that, then we have rooftop equipment that we need to consider on this. And in looking at the elevations that are in the packet, yeah, I would imagine, Mr. Schreiber, that Roberta just pointed to on the top part of the roof plan there is over the kitchen area.
Correct.
And then the other rooftop units are over the, I guess, the toilet room area in the lobby.
We call it the gallery. It's the
Gallery.
lobby, if you will. Yeah.
Right, right. And our concern is that that is screened from view. So when I'm looking at your could you bring up the west elevation then, Berta? When I'm looking at then the elevations of the building, they're all nicely finished except the west elevation. And the west elevation is called out as a hardy plank, and it looks like it's shown in a vertical board-on-board, you know, with a bunch of downspouts and a gutter running across, and then an open parapet that runs into a well where this rooftop equipment would be. I think what we are going to be looking for is that rooftop equipment is totally screened horizontally in elevation. And if you have kitchen equipment there, you know, you've got some sizable equipment. Mm-hmm. And that was going to go for the stuff that's over the lobby too. So at least so it does look like, and it's hard to tell what the level of the roof is at that part of the building, but there's a fine line there where the ladder stops. And I'm guessing that's it. That's the ladder from the low roof to the high roof, right? So, you know, I think we're going to be, the residents to the west of this facility are going to be staring at all that equipment. You know, the fence is terrific, and that's a great thing to have. And, you know, I applaud you for that. But we have to, you know, then consider what's going to be visible over the top of the fence. So could you talk about how that is going to be screened from view?
Sure. The easy part, the front of the building, you won't be able to see it. Behind the balustrade, we don't want guests to be looking at the front of this beautiful building and seeing the RTUs on top. So they're set down and away from the front of the building. So the side angle away, and as you approach the building, you won't be able to see them.
So if I'm out at Devon or Prospect, I'm not going to see rooftop
Won't be able to see it.
equipment. I won't see rooftop equipment.
No, sir.
Kind of like to see that demonstrated in section, in order to assure ourselves of that. But more importantly, for the sake of all three of these buildings, I think what we're looking for is to demonstrate that that equipment is also screened from the residence side.
I would be happy to add that to the plans.
That would be terrific. And whether we call that a condition or or actually ask to see that in a.
I can send you the architectural.
All three buildings have open wells that face the residence side right now on these exhibits, and I think we have to cure that.
Okay. Be happy to do it.
Okay, terrific. Then also, I think there needs to be consideration for the kitchen equipment. So I was going to ask you about what the operation of that kitchen actually is. Is that a full-service kitchen, or is that is cooking, food prep done on site, cooking done on site?
We do our own.
You do your own. So there's going to be a kitchen exhaust, a hood exhaust somewhere.
That's correct.
We would ask you to push that exhaust, things like the makeup air unit or exhaust fans or what have you, as far east as you can in plan.
Yeah, they can be moved some. If we go back to the plan view, please, Roberta.
I'm sorry, which view?
The plan view, the floor plan view of the building. Can I borrow your little?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you. So on this wall, this is where the cooking line is. And there are 5 pieces of cooking equipment. So the exhaust hoods will be proportionally pretty much directly above, probably, we might be able to get 8 or 10 feet from the side of the building without too much trouble.
Well, and you do have some, what we, I think, be concerned with is that you move it as far laterally as the equipment would allow.
Absolutely.
They do allow a certain horizontal length before it turns up.
Yeah, it's just sizing the fans and making sure that the transitions in the
Right, and,
ductwork is.
You know, and all of that, but whatever the rules are, you know, to scoot that as far east as possible to keep that away from the residents.
I'd be happy to do that.
Terrific. I've got a couple more. Jim, go ahead. Take over the meeting, but then I'd ask you about building-mounted light fixtures. What do we have going? And I couldn't find on the submit.
Yeah, I didn't enclose all the architecturals and lighting plan. The exterior lights on the building are really just accent lights. So there'll be some low voltage LED uplights that will illuminate the landscape as well as certain parts of the side of the building. Very opaquely. It's not going to be very bright at all. It's going to be very soft lights. So there's not going to be any, and other light. The only other lights will be similar to these guys on the can lights on the outside of the building, shining down and having maybe a 6-foot footprint by the time it hits ground level.
You're talking about architectural lights on the perimeter of the building.
That's right.
Do you have any wall packs or anything that would be on the residence side, especially at your loading bay? Is there?
No.
There's nothing there.
No, there might be. There's going to have to be a light
At the
back at the dumpster.
Right.
That will be switched as needed, but there's no lights in the back of the building.
no lights in the back.
Yeah, we don't have any activity out there at night other than us taking, visiting the dumpster area. All deliveries really are done by noon every day, just because of how we produce our food and timing and all that.
Okay. No lights.
There'll be a little bit of traffic with possibly with DJs or florists, for example, loading or unloading, but nothing that creates any noise or light to speak of.
Okay. I think we can do better on the west elevation of this building that's up on the screen there, rather than the board-on-board vertical siding there. It kind of, at least in our location, that's a little bit perceived to be more like a shed than, a building. We're kind of horizontal siding people here, and maybe there's something that can be done with a couple of trim bands or a cornice or something. I guess it's a little bit more than, de minimis on the residence side and what would be visible on this building over the top of the fence.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. There's really, with an 8-foot fence, I think unless, 8-foot fence is like, I'm not that tall, but like way up here.
It's a foot over the height of the man door. So if I'm in one of those houses to the west, I'm going to be looking at the gutter, and right now I'm going to be looking at the equipment, but we'll cure that.
Right.
When we cure that by bringing the parapet up, right, got a lot of that board-on-board going there.
Yeah, and that's
If your architect
strictly economics.
look at something to present, a finished face.
Would it be acceptable if it went
Residential
from a
side.
certain height up to do that rather than an entire wall? So that the actual viewpoints from the other side of the fence, from the resident side, would be okay?
We don't have a solution for you.
Okay.
The
I'll figure it out.
comment is We've kind of shown the rear end of the building to the neighbors, and we think we could do better.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. That's an easy one.
All right. And, just a couple more and I'll be done. The roof of the chapel is a prominent piece in this design.
Yeah, that's our money.
So if that whatever material you choose there should probably be more than the bottom of the line shingle.
We use we do use a shingle for that. for a lot of reasons, installation, maintenance, et cetera. So we, you know, our design is that anything like ceramic platelets or something like that doesn't work on that, the way that's constructed.
Right, right. We'd just like to see an upgrade, upgraded shingle on that. I guess, you know, we're not an architectural review board, although we play one on TV.
Yeah, I get it.
It's just that we're concerned that this project is the best neighbor it could possibly be.
Yes, sir. If there's a question there, I'm not sure how to answer it because the design of the chapel is, you know, anything other than the chapel can change. Our chapels are exactly the same. We have the same timber frame company that builds them for us and erects them, and the way they're made, the beadboard ceiling, the roof deck, and the interior and exterior of the roof deck, shy of the finish shingle, is all made together.
Okay, almost done. Sorry. Your board-on-board fence?
Yes.
The 8-foot fence on the perimeter seems to have a A side and a B side to it. We want to turn the A side out.
Maybe we'll have two A sides.
Maybe we'll have two A sides.
And I believe on that note, I believe that what's required in the ordinance is a 6-foot fence, and we've offered
the 8-foot fence.
We've offered an 8-foot fence, just to make note of that. So.
And it will have steel posts.
Steel posts.
I'm just
Why are we having steel
We'll
posts?
tell Jerry.
Where's Jerry? We'll tell Jerry. Okay.
Hey, Roberta.
Almost.
Why is that? Why do we have steel posts?
It's just a condition that the Plan Commission likes to place upon board-on-board fences.
Okay. Well, we're going to do it.
The light fixtures are shown in the exact same place as the trees in the plan. The light fixtures in the parking lot on the engineering drawings are shown in the exact same place as the trees in the landscape plan. And then my final question, and then I'll shut up, is where did this arbor hedge come from?
Arborvitae hedge?
Arborvitae hedge.
That was their proposal.
Are there alternates?
I have to.
Arb hedges are susceptible to winter blight, and when it's set up where it tries to be a screen, and they turn 6 or 8 feet high, right? Then what happens? We lose one here, lose one there, and it becomes kind of gap tooth.
As soon as we lose one, we'll replace it with another.
Well,
we just don't mess around.
we're going to suggest that you consider an alternate to that. So rather than have an 8-foot high continuous green arb hedge around this thing, I'm going to suggest that you look at an alternate.
Just so I'm clear.
Whether it's a U hedge or something that's a little bit lower, that could be just behind your 4-foot decorative.
Oh, a lower hedge.
Lower hedge.
Oh, sure.
Lower hedge.
That's cheaper. Save me some money.
And it might last for you too.
Okay.
Might last for you too.
Just so you know,
I apologize for
the assignment given to the landscape architect is the same that we give in every location, and we have our own issues with heat down in Texas as we do with cold up here, is that whatever we put in there has got to be, the trees especially, has to be green all the time. We can't advertise, and you've seen pictures of the chapel, and we have glass windows all the way around. Florida, very tall windows, and around the chapel, you saw the landscaping there. Those are going to be very tall trees that enclose from the interior view of the chapel. That's what you're going to see. We want it to feel like you're in a forest because some of our, we started out putting them in forests, and forests are hard to find in a lot of places. So we're going to build a forest. So it is vital to our identity that all of that stuff we put in there stays green all the time. And if we put seasonal color, we replace them so that, our guests can't see, dead plants or dead trees or gaps in the trees or, any more than they can see, dirty floors or unset tables or anything like that when they visit the property.
Good. Appreciate your patience.
Thanks. No, thank you very much.
Okay, Mark? Okay. Any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, just a few questions. I guess mine more relates to parking. I know you went over it, but I know a lot of people here are probably concerned about that. How many employees, again, did you say we're going to be during let's say a large-scale event, wedding, how many employees will be working?
At maximum capacity, if we have 300 guests, full service dinner, full bar, kitchen coordinators and all that, we'll have at most 26.
26. Is there a designated staff parking area? It's, let's say, Senior Flexonics was out for some reason, it's not there, or something happens. Is there a designated employee parking area?
Typically during the events, it's the furthest parking places from the building.
Okay. And there's no parking behind the building at all?
I suppose it's there if we need it with that service drive. We could certainly use it as such. We aren't planning on it, but we can certainly use it as such because it's not occupied during events.
Okay. And then, let's see here. You mentioned full-time landscapers. Where would they be storing their equipment?
Wherever their shop is.
Oh, okay. So you're hiring somebody. You're contracting it. You're not.
Correct. It'll be a local landscape contractor.
Okay. All right. And then a DJ. Obviously, people can bring their own DJ. So that would be. So they would. Where would they be unloading and unloading?
In the back.
In the back.
Yeah. It depends on. I guess part of the answer, it depends on the time. If there's nothing going on and they come at a certain time, they can park in the front or on side and come around the side of the building. It really depends on the activity in the building at the time. And all of the vendors, whether if an event selects their own vendor, let's say a DJ, they have to be a professional DJ. They have to have insurance. They have to name Ashton Gardens as additionally insured. They have to have a business license. They have to be professionals. You can't bring, cousin Bobby and his boom box in to be a DJ. I guess you could, but we're not going to set you up as a DJ. But same with the cake baker. It has to be all of these business. The cake baker have to have a place of business, inspected and licensed by the health department, and carry insurance.
And then what about when these events are over? About when people are leaving? Majority of the people are going to be going east on Devon. So they're going to turn out there. Are we worried about any type of a stacking type of issue with cars leaving or cars that have to turn left onto Devon where they're going to be exiting onto Prospect? Are we going to have some type of traffic control? Are the police going to be needed at all?
We have a similar situation in our Atlanta property, and I suppose we could have traffic cops out there, but for people find their way out. They don't all go out at once. We find that a measurable number of guests are gone, by the time the right after dinner or right after the cake cutting, and that sort of stuff is happening. And then certainly by the end of the event, you've got maybe 30% of the guest count or so is there. People trickle out. So we haven't experienced it. I can't really answer that. All I can say is the traffic study shows that there won't be a problem. And I guess if you're leaving the property, you got to figure out how to get home.
Yeah. Just a couple more questions. Now, I know your primary events are going to be weddings on Friday, Saturday nights. Will there be things during the week? Will there be luncheon events and those type of things during the week? Or maybe, somebody wants to save money, have a wedding on a Wednesday night or something?
Hope so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's those other times as well. All right.
And if I can, sorry for interrupting, but I want to address this since you mentioned it. There was also a question of competition of the Bartlett Hills and, let's see, the name of the other facility here. Thank you.
Fire barn?
You know, first of all, you know, competition is good. If you think about the McDonald's effect, a long time ago, and there's kind of a joke in the food industry that back when you know, Burger King was coming onto its own, they would wait to find out where McDonald's built and then buy the land, the secondary land not far from there, because it creates traffic. If we have 1,000 tours a year visiting our property, and people, the way they search for, they're much more, you know, 20-some-year-old girls are much more sophisticated at this than I am. The way they search is pretty much online, mostly online. And they will have a tendency, if they're finding Ashton Gardens in this area and they're searching for weddings, they're going to find the other locations as well. They're going to visit these other locations. There's going to be times where, and this is an example of our being good neighbors, there's going to be times where people will want to have a particular day or time for a wedding that we can't accommodate. We would recommend, and we do this in our other properties, in the cities where we are, where there's facilities to support them, we'll refer them to these other places to go see. And it happens vice versa. Hopefully, we're all so busy we're referring back and forth. But this sort of thing is good. These folks that come visit us are going to visit Bartlett Hills, are going to visit the other facilities. We also have to have places where we refer rehearsal dinners. You know, right after the rehearsal, which is typically the day before the wedding, everybody leaves and goes right to, the bridal party goes right to a place to eat. We're going to find our local business neighbors and assuming, you know, quality and service and all that stuff is there, we're going to try to send business to other local businesses. That's just what we do. That's part of what we think our obligation is of being good community members.
And final question for me. I appreciate you guys coming to look at Bartlett. You know, Bartlett's a great community, and we'd love to have you. Did you look at other locations within our village?
No. No. I can tell you this. My partner and I came up here 4 times and spent 4 days driving around, if you will, in the target area where we wanted to be. And we just kept coming back to here. We love the location. The access, it's fairly easy to get to from, you know, it's not, you know, our business is not location, because we're a destination. People, and when they get married, something, I don't know what happens, but I got married in Las Vegas. My wife and I went to Las Vegas, so, you know, I wouldn't know how to do this, but they look for the venue. They look for the place they want to have their wedding, and wherever it is, they'll go to. At least it's been proven out that, and we don't have the most convenient locations in everywhere we are, but people get to us. People drive. We're 27 miles north of Atlanta, or 26 miles north of Atlanta. If anybody's driven in Atlanta, right after lunch, you know, traffic backs up going out of the city. So it ain't easy to get to us. But people get to us. And so the fact that you may have to come off of, you know, one of the major roads or a highway and drive for 10 or 15 minutes to get to us, we're okay with that. You know, we looked at property right off of highways or real convenient to highways. We just love the feel of that piece of property and where we're located here in the village. And it's great, you know, you can get to us from Schaumburg and Hanover Park and South Barrington. I hope I'm getting the towns right and all that stuff, so it works.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else have a question? Comment? No? Okay, Jim? Yeah.
Okay. First person is Yasser Rizvi and Hinar Nawab. Just go up there to speak.
Could you state your name and address, please?
I'm sorry, say it again?
Your name and address.
My name is Hina Nawab, and I'm at 228 Lido Trail.
What would you like to say?
Is this land already sold?
No, we haven't closed on it yet.
Okay. And then what was our other question? We were concerned about the noise and safety. I am a physician. I work nights, and when I'm at the hospital, I am at peace of mind that my family is safe. So there is a lot of concern about safety.
Well, I can just refer back to the examples I gave earlier about how we manage the business, alcohol consumption, how we manage the exit, how we have a trained peace officer on property, all of the things that we do everything we possibly can, to ensure the safety of our guests, and beyond that, I'm not sure specifically what you mean by safety as far as traffic and all that goes. I think I've tried to address that.
There would be traffic, there would be, drinking, there would be people coming out for smoking. So a lot of things happen when people go out for weddings and events.
Sure. We just do absolutely our best, the way we manage the business with our security. And, as I said, in 11 years and 1 million plus guests, we haven't had an incident yet. We can just continue to do the best that we can do and hope for the same result.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Yasser Rizvi, same property as my wife. I'm at the corner of Lido and Prospect there. So we're that right there by the third Bartlett entrance. Okay. And I'm concerned there'll be a lot of traffic going in and out, and it's my backyard. I have small kids. So, plus also the parking concern is that if people don't find parking, you'll park in your parking lot, they're going to come down on Lido Trail.
Well, as I said, we're going to, one of the reasons why we have the security officers is to manage the parking as well. So if we even think that our event, an event is big enough to, warrant the off-site parking, we'll make arrangements for it and we'll let people know that and we'll monitor that. That's one of the jobs of the. And by the way, anything over 150 guests is required to have 2 officers. Partly for that reason as well. So all of that is watched. That's part of their job. We've got if you will, our own job description of what security officers do on property, and traffic control and parking and things of that sort is part of theirs. They have to be at certain areas of the property at certain times of the event, arrival and departure.
So you're saying you're going to have a off-duty police officer on every single event?
Every single event. Yep. And 2 if it's over 150.
Okay, thank you.
Shuttle service to the other parking if we need it.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anne Marie Westfall.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Westfall. I think you covered a lot of good topics. I think this town is always saying they want economic growth. I think this would give a lot of employment for a lot of people, and pretty much sums it up.
Thank you.
Teresa Materna.
Evening. My name's Teresa Materna. I live at 329 West North Avenue, so I am within walking distance. I walk past here all the time. I I'm not one for a lot of new things, but I really think that this would be a really good thing for this community. Actually, I was kind of surprised, but you actually read my email earlier because I'm the person who took my wedding to Schaumburg because I couldn't find a facility within the price range that we were looking for. I've lived in Bartlett since 1993, and I would have loved to have had my wedding here. But Bartlett Hills was just too pricey for us at the time, and it would have been nice to have choices. And I think this is going to be a good choice and bring choices to the area. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And you know, on that note, you know, we're in the business of having business, and you know, we more times than not, if we have an available day and time and event space that goes unsold, we'll ask people what their budget is. We'll try to, you know, it's like a hotel room, you know, it's yield management. If you have something sitting empty, you're better off getting something than nothing for it. And so, you know, we negotiate prices, we customize events, whether it's menu or bar packages or facility fees or usage or times or something like that, because we're in the business of doing business. You know, so we're going to be, our rack rate, our peak pricing is going to be more than Bartlett Hills is going to be. But if somebody wants to come on an open Sunday and we haven't sold it and we need to, you know, we can get there. We can customize an event for it. I mean, the more business, the better for everybody, really.
Michael Baggett.
Good evening, Michael Baggett, B-A-G-G-O-T. Mr. Schreiber, how are you this evening?
How you doing, Michael? Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. I have some points that I want to bring up that I think are important to discuss. You talked about pride and progress. I think a bigger issue is integrity. I think keeping the integrity of the neighborhood as it is, as a residential area, is important. You talked about safety issues. Well, we have other areas that are reception halls. One, similar to your type of plan, is Seville. And I had the opportunity to pull the police calls for the Seville over a 2-year period of time. So you're talking about putting a hall right in the middle of residential area, completely surrounding you except for the Flexonics part right around there. Now, when I pulled the police calls for the Seville located in Streamwood on Barrington Road, during the course of from January of 2014 to July of 2016, there were 76 calls made to that facility. So over a course of 2.5 years, 76 calls were made to that facility. During those calls, things that were called for were people who were sick or injured, theft, domestic trouble, intoxicated subjects, which we've talked about in the prior meeting, disturbances, criminal trespass to vehicles, aggravated domestic battery, and simple assault. As you've heard me say before, I do insurance defense for a living. I represent companies like you who are sued all the time. And unfortunately, I've seen the bad side of what takes place when people are drinking and what happens when you have 150 to 300 people in a facility consuming alcohol. And despite all the grand assurances you've given us regarding what's not going to happen, based on what's taken place in the facility nearby, to put something like that in a residential area is going to do nothing but cause problems. You're going to disrupt the integrity of that neighborhood, the residential area surrounding it. Despite anything you tell us, there's no way to prevent these things from happening, even with 1 or 2 guards there during the facility.
Well,
I'd be happy to submit the findings I have as
You cannot let them talk. Everyone has to speak into the microphone. We have a court reporter here, okay?
I'll be happy to submit the findings I have to the commission so they can review it. These are picked right from the Streamwood Police Department.
You have the calls from Bartlett Hills and from Bella Olivia.
I don't have those calls, no. I got the calls from Seville because Seville is primarily a reception-only institution, similar to what Mr. Schreiber is trying to put in place here.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, to be honest with you, the cost and the time was prohibited as well. So I want to get something similar to what Mr. Schreiber is proposing to put in a residential area surrounded by families and kids and individuals who will be disturbed by the presence of Ashton Gardens, despite the fact that it could be a great facility in a different location. The other concern I have, you talked about a little bit about competition, and in general, competition is a great thing. However, as Bartlett taxpayers, we have 2 facilities in Bartlett that are currently to be used for potentially receptions. So it is a direct interference with what Bartlett residents are paying for that we're paying for other facilities to be used. So I think in the end, having a facility like yours, again, in the middle of Bartlett is a direct conflict with what other facilities that are owned by Bartlett are facilitated by Bartlett, and hopefully in the business of filling those things up should be done for. So how would you address the competition part of that?
I think I already have. You know, I'm not an attorney, so I wouldn't profess to get into how your business works. But I can only go by the statistics and by the things that we know have occurred in other locations. And simply by the laws of business, business helps other businesses. Perhaps the other locations, you know, we believe would benefit by it. So all I can tell you is that's how we do business. We refer to other local businesses, and we have seen that, and we work with our competitors. We don't fight against them. We work with them whenever there's opportunity, and vice versa. So that's the type of business people that we are. As far as the Seville goes, to be quite direct, I don't know who manages it. They're not us. You know, they have 680 seating capacity. They have 106 parking spaces. I don't know if they require security or have security. I don't know how they manage it. I can only tell you that if you want to talk about statistics, we have not had a single call. I take it you probably looked for that. You haven't found one. There is not one because of how we manage our business, because of the level of professionals that we hire, because of their experience, because of our standard operating procedures, because of how we train our staff, and what we expect from our security. So you cannot compare us to, and we're not a hall, by the way, you cannot compare us to a Seville. I visited them. I shopped them. We know the competition. I know them better than you do because I visit them. I talk to them. I know a whole bunch about it. And one of the emails that came to the village was about the Seville of somebody who went to a wedding there and had to park a couple of blocks away. That's because they seat 680 people and have 106 parking spots. I've done my homework on it. As far as the management goes over there, they ain't us. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no comparison. So
a reception is a reception is a reception. A drunk's a drunk's a drunk.
We could,
one of the areas that
Counselor, I could sit here and we could speculate. I could address every speculative possibility you could come up with, or anybody else. I can't rationalize speculation. All I can do is tell, just like there's good attorneys and bad attorneys, there's operations that are run well by professionals with integrity, with security, with all of the things. And I've been there. You know what? It ain't such a, you know, I don't know how they do business. I'm not saying that they do it badly. I'm not arguing the fact that they've had problems. I can tell you that we have more weddings, more facilities, been open longer than they have, and not had a single incident. That's all I can tell you. We can make up any possible scenario and argue it, and I may or may not be able to address it. I can only tell you what we do and how we've done it, what the history is.
So here's the problem, Mr. Schreiber. One time it happens in a neighborhood full of residents.
That's speculation, strictly
That's
speculation.
right, and we're here to speculate because we don't know what's going to happen in the future.
It hasn't happened yet.
Okay, your time is up.
Yes, I do. I'll be real fast. One issue that was sort of brought up that wasn't addressed was lighting in the parking lot. You're talking about residential homes, and
There are restrictions placed on lighting by the village, all the way down to the decimal point of candle power that's allowed to be shown in certain areas. If lighting is not permitted and we have to put shades on the lights in the parking lot so that the light does not reflect back onto the residents. That's an ordinance. You can look that up. We've got to abide by that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Len Giambalvo.
Hi, I'm Lenny Giambalvo. I actually live across the street in the Hearthwood Farm subdivision. One of the things that you didn't mention in your study is we already have a traffic problem here at Devon and what is it, Devon and Ontaриoville Road. It is a nightmare. It takes me 5 minutes to pull off of a side street onto that road, and now you're going to add more traffic. So that's just not true. It's already a problem. The other things that that I want to talk about, the lighting he just hit, so I'll leave that alone. We just had a factory go up over by me, and they put those halogen lights up. It lights up the whole neighborhood. When you want to sit on your back porch right behind your facility and watch the stars at night, you can't do that no more because now you got a spotlight in your eye. And I tell you, that's a real pain to deal with. The other thing is these air conditioning and heating units on top of the roof, they make a lot of noise. I work on them. I know what they do. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, when them things kick on and it's 40 feet from your back porch, you hear it. And that's a fact. We also have a small bar across the street with a 2 o'clock liquor license. It is a nightmare for the people that live across the street with these drunks fighting, urinating out in front of their yards. And you can't tell me that these drunks at a wedding don't do that, because they do.
Here's what I can tell you.
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
You had a lot of time to talk. Let me talk.
Okay.
And I actually like your presentation. I'm of the thought that this is a great facility, just not right there. People that come up here and don't give their addresses and they applaud this thing, do you live behind it? That makes a big factor. Those are the people that should have the biggest word on this, because they're the ones that are going to have to live there all the time. Just those kind of things. I know how staff is that works at these places. They open the back door, you got 10 staff out there smoking, swearing. I hear them all the time. I've worked in that industry. That's something that you're not going to present, but that's true. When they're done in the kitchen, they open the back door because it's hot as hell in that kitchen, and they're all standing outside 40 feet from somebody's back porch. These are the little things that you're not mentioning, and they're important to the neighbors that live right there, so mainly the traffic. We need a stoplight or a traffic light at Devon and Ontaриoville Road there, because it's a nightmare already. So to add all of this is going to be even harder, And turning around here, we have a lot of bicycle traffic and a lot of kids, and you got to line up trying to pull out. I could just see it now. You're going to have them all backed up in your lot trying to turn here to go down east on Devon. It's going to be a nightmare. I love your facility, but honestly, I don't know why you're downsizing to put it on a little spot like that. Something tells me you're going to want to upgrade it later and add more to it. I know you guys. But, I would love this here in town, but it's just my opinion, nicely said. I don't like that spot. It's all homes. This village changed in the last 30 years, and it's all residential here now. The factory got grandfathered in 40, 50 years ago. Otherwise, that would never have been allowed here now, you know. But look for a different spot and stay with our town, you know.
All right. Thank you.
Can I address a couple things here?
Sure.
First of all, again, we're not a bar. We manage differently. We're a, people at a Lexus dealership operate, work differently than people at a Chevy dealership. So businesses are run differently. We don't allow smoking, by the way, on property by our staff. If they're on a break, it's because they're given a break at a certain time by management. They have to stay in the building in the break room. They're not allowed to smoke on property. They're not allowed to smoke till they get off property if they do smoke. And we don't have downtimes enough to where staff can just leave the building and goof off outside. Now, that's just the way we do business. You can believe it or not believe it, but that's just the way we do business. We can speculate. Again, we can make up anything that we want to argue here and say that that's the rule. We haven't experienced, and we have, again, letters from homeowners associations that are in some cases closer than some of you guys that say this stuff doesn't happen. So, I don't know how to address, things that we can make up, and with all due respect, things that we can make up that are any possibility. So, all I can do is tell you how we run our business and all of the things that we know and all the things that we do and our history and what the outcome is. Something could fall out of the sky. We can't do anything about that either, but I can't really argue that because we don't know about that.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
Rick Ramirez.
Rick Ramirez, 483 East Railroad. I'm speaking as an individual, but I'm also the vice president of the Asbury Place Homeowners Association. And I'm not speaking for them, but I can tell you I have not got any negative or positive feedback. I don't know if there's anybody from Asbury here. So we just have one. So I haven't experienced any kind of information either way. So I'm just speaking as an individual. But I'd like to address some of the things I've heard, starting with the most recent. As far as the people are concerned about the traffic, at least the road traffic, not directly around the unit, but somebody mentioned it, Ontaриовille and Devon. Has anybody driven by at 10, 11 o'clock on Devon Avenue or Prospect? I mean, there's no traffic. I don't know who we're kidding here. After 9:30, there's nothing going on in this town as far as traffic. So maybe a Friday evening when people would be coming in, there might be a little traffic. But otherwise, I don't see that traffic is an issue. And I live in the area. Secondly, I think that, Bartlett talks about wanting to promote business and bring vitality into the downtown area and everything. I think this is an exceptional opportunity for the village. I don't think there's anything you can put on that commercial lot, anything that the residents that back up to it are going to be happy with. I kind of feel for them and I understand, but that's just the fact of life. No matter what you put there, they will not be happy. Okay? And as far as the property values that you spoke to, I was a residential appraiser for 7 years. And I can tell you that if you back to a property and the way you've described it, how you're going to fence it and what the fence and everything, there's really very little that affects the property value when it's like that. Now, if you had a house there and a house on a lake, I'm not going to tell you that the house on the lake won't sell quicker. But it's not going to affect your property values hardly at all. And I can tell you that from 7 years' experience as a certified residential appraiser. When Asbury was selling the parcels around the park, they were going for $15,000 more because a builder can do that to you. They can sell that in. Once those units are sold in, you will never get that $15,000 back because that part of the location doesn't make that big a difference. But so, getting back to my original thought was that I understand how some of these residents feel, but it is a commercial lot. If not this, what are you going to put there? I would rather see this than another strip mall or something that would be, unsightly. And it is a commercial lot. That's what it's zoned for. Anybody that bought near that property knows that it's a commercial lot. They're taking their chances. And I think unless you're willing to rezone it as residential, if you zoned it as commercial, I think it's an excellent project. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Rob Ensminger.
Rob Ensminger, 875 Prairie Avenue. I think some of the gentlemen before me did an excellent job expressing the concerns of the people that live right in that community. Another location would be more conducive to getting businesses that you can work with a little bit easier, and also having the customers that you're going to be serving having better ingress and egress access to your location. I have 4 kids. We ride our bikes all the time around there, and it's of all hours of the days. It's not just talking about Friday and Saturday nights. You want to try and have business all the time. May not happen all the time, but there it is. You have a park right to your west. You have a school right to the south of you. You have another park that's to the north. You also have another park that goes down towards County Farm. Lots of residential activities there. I'm not going to get into an anecdotal debate about the possibilities. We know that people aren't always going to be respectful of that community because they don't live in that community. So really, when you look at it from my point, we ask you as residents and longstanding residents, take our requests into consideration. Other sites in the community are going to be much better suited for what their needs are and building that community and getting clientele, because it's not just about getting people from Bartlett to have events there. It's all over Chicagoland. And we know that everyone has a different perspective of their community and the way they respect it and take care of it. We want ours to be respected the way we need it to be respected, right? And to protect our children and the rest of the community.
Thank you.
And again, all I can say is that we have testimonials from years of being neighbors with other communities that have given us the report card I presented to you guys. So, and as far as selecting a site for our business, I think that's the job that's the business we're in. We spent a lot of time and a lot of money finding what we thought is the best site. That is our job. That is our prerogative, and this is what we think is great. And and again, with all due respect to everybody who's taken your time and effort to be here tonight, there's 40,000 other people that can benefit from this, and there's not going to be a perfect location for us, and there's not going to be a perfect business for the residents. Quite honestly, we've had nothing but great positive support and response in the other places, and although we do appreciate, and we're trying to address everything that we possibly can. However, we do have a history. We do have testimonials. We do have facts to back up our claims, and we do the best that we can do.
Thank you.
Aki Zhao. Am I saying that right? Jhau. Must not be here. Rocky Zhao, sorry.
Hi, I'm Rocky Shah, and I live on 217 Lido Trail. So I do agree with a lot of people here that it's not the best spot for your business. Along with that, I also wanted to say that traffic is going to be a big concern if you're expecting 30,000 people, as you mentioned, per year. It's going to be an issue. I'm not sure what the traffic study said, but it could be biased. Okay. Second thing I wanted to address also was the officers that you mentioned during the time that people are going to be there. They're also going to be inside. I don't think they're going to be strictly outside managing the traffic. So I think that's also biased in your presentation, because you're going to have people, one officer or two officers inside managing the parties and not necessarily the traffic outside. Also, some concerns I have, if we are going to pursue with this, with the board here, is liquor license. That has to be at 12 o'clock. I do like to sleep relatively before that. So with the traffic and noise and also liquor license being past that, it gives them the time to, increase their business to 1 or 2 in the morning. Second thing I wanted to address with the board also was to look into, if our average wedding is about 150 that you mentioned, maybe we can allow 150%, so maybe 200 occupancy. I don't think there's a need for the 300 occupancy, and that's going to bring more traffic to our area also. Once again, I'm not for this at all, but this is something that we need to address as a concern in our area. What else? And also, if you guys are going to pursue, I do agree with Rizvi here, the entrance on Prospect has to be eliminated. The traffic needs to be mostly on Devon, because on Prospect is mostly residential. I can't get a school bus to give me a bus ride for my kids. They expect my kids to walk to the school or get a ride. So with having that traffic there on that street, I think that residential feel is going to be gone away from the community. And as far as the Seville was mentioned, it's on a more of a commercial road. Barrington is fully commercial. That's what we're going to maybe expect on Devon. So our board has to look into that also, making sure that we are able to accommodate the traffic. I know 9:30 there's not traffic there, but we're going to experience that traffic when the party leaves at 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, or 12:30. And a bigger concern also is on Ontarioville and Barrington. I can never get out of that intersection. It takes forever. It gets backed up all the way to past the train, like all the way towards the turning point. You can never get out, and that's going to be the main intersection where people are going to enter from. So we need to look at the capacity of the hall also. If they don't need if the average wedding is 150, we don't need to go up to 300. What else? And also the entrance, we need to eliminate the entrance on Prospect. I don't know, we mentioned that already. And the liquor license, there's no need. If your party ends at 12, mostly 99% of the time, there's no need to have it past 12. I think that's all.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to address a few of those things. First of all, I don't make the laws. We don't make the laws. Certain things like the liquor licenses, that's state and local driven. So we don't determine what the laws are. We determine what our business needs are and how to operate our business. Your speculation about what the officers are doing is completely wrong, because as I've said earlier, we have specific places for those officers to be at certain times. So, without knowing how we manage our business, and I would be happy to discuss any parts of it in whatever detail you want to, as I've said before, we have standard operating procedures on how those things are handled. So we can get up here and say, you're not going to do it, but I'm telling you that that's how we do it. And I don't know, what else to offer other than the fact that I can tell you what our officers do. I can tell you how we do our liquor. We don't make the lighting ordinances. We don't determine where the entrances and exits are. The traffic study is done, required by the village, done by an independent party that we pay for. We don't make that stuff up. So all we're doing is complying with what is required by the village. If some of those things, if you don't agree with them, then, again, we're just trying to do what's expected of us. Talk to the village about changing the laws and the rules and the ordinances, and then we have to change the way we do business. And we would comply with that. But right now, we're complying with everything that's expected of us, and then some. So we're really trying.
Scott Erickson? Okay. Geneva Baker Cotton? Baker Cotton, sorry.
Good evening. My name is Geneva Baker Cotton, 402 Hillendale Drive. You spoke of progress, you spoke of pride, but this main thing is about profitability and a lack of providence. Because those of us that live in East Point Estates, this is a major inconvenience for us. I won't go and belabor the point. They've mentioned safety, traffic, and a number of other things. And it doesn't seem like any thought has really been given to the residents, to the wishes of the residents. The profitability of $3 million, $4 million for Bartlett, that's great, but it's at the expense, and it makes us in East Point Estates sacrificial lambs in order to get that. And another thing, in the words of Donald Trump, this is rigged, because no matter what we say, how many times we come, you're going to do it anyway. You give, just artificial due process, artificial due diligence, and your presentation, it's already done, and you're going to do it. So, that's that, but at least give some consideration for the people in East Point Estates. What are you going to do for us as residents who are being so sorely inconvenienced?
Yeah.
Probably nothing.
This isn't a done deal. We stand to lose everything we've invested so far. We have not closed on the property yet. The village has not given us approval yet. This is why we're doing this. We believe in this project. Anybody who builds anywhere on a commercial piece of land is going to, any business is going to want to be profitable. That's just the nature of business. That's why you have commercial zone property. That's why cities thrive. Without it, you got nothing. But we're going beyond what we had hoped for. Certainly, we're willing to do as much as we possibly can. You just heard we made some allowances on our building design. We've changed our landscape plan. I wish it was a done deal, but it ain't. And we stand to lose a lot of money on this. We believe in this. We believe in the village. We believe in the location. We believe that there's a community of 40,000 here that can benefit from this. And, we want everybody to like us. It ain't working out that way. But like I said, I wish it was a done deal. That's why the village has these types of meetings. That's why we come up here time after time. We could easily just call it quits, cut our losses, and go someplace else. But we believe in you guys more than you believe in you guys, because we want it to be there, and we think it's good for the village.
Melissa Van Maldigan.
Hello, my name is Melissa Van Meldigan. I live at 832 Tallgrass Drive. A lot of the things people were saying, so bear with me. I was scratching things out so I didn't say things twice. I don't believe this is appropriate for this neighborhood space. Weddings typically, 2 o'clock, 1 or 2, noon, middle of the day, weekend times. If you are in that area, there are thousands of little kids, parents, families going from Leesburg Park in the summer where there's that splash pad all the way down to Newport Park. There's always joggers, bike riders, all kinds of people coming through in that area. I realize that it could be a strip mall, it could be something else, but I don't feel like when the mass, if you look at a strip mall, people are trickling in from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. Something like this facility, people will be arriving, 2 o'clock wedding, 1:40. People are trying to jam into the parking lot as fast as possible because they're going to be late for the wedding, with not any respect for the kids and other people who are in the neighborhoods. That intersection at Prospect and Devon, if you're on the, I'm really bad with directions, directly across from 7-Eleven, that intersection is wrecked. The road is full of potholes. There's no lines painted on the road. It's terrible. You're going to increase the traffic, to 30,000 people almost going through that one intersection. It's not appropriate as a wear and tear standpoint. That road's already ripped up and in a bad condition on that one section of the road. Something else, what I say? We already have multiple, and not that any of them would be appropriate for this position, but we have multiple large square footage areas just empty in Bartlett. We have the old Ace Hardware, the old Fresh Market, the old Bartlett. None of them are appropriate for this this place, but we don't need in 3 or 4 years when this place doesn't work, we have another large empty space not doing anything. As somebody else touched on it, we have Villa Olivia, we have Bartlett Hills. They aren't working to capacity. They're not full every weekend. They're not full with weddings every weekend. The addition of another more expensive place in a middle class area of Bartlett is not going to support it. I don't really see Bartlett as future awesome destination wedding area. I would like to see the values, with all due respect, statistics aren't worth the paper they're written on. You showed us property values, how they went up 17%. Well, those houses directly affected went up 17%. Well, did the ones 4 miles away go up 40%? So it doesn't help, so they're not really worth the paper they're written on. I'm not a big fan of statistics unless I can see all the numbers. So that's just, something that, let's see. The other thing is that not only is everybody arriving, at the same exact time, 2 o'clock, whatever, then everybody's leaving. I know they kind of trickle out after dinner. Here again, all due respect, probably hasn't been to too many Chicago area weddings. What about the poor Irish people who want to be able to do shots? Never been to an Irish wedding. That shots wasn't a big problem or a big issue. There's alcohol. If people can't get it from you, I 99% guarantee that they'll be bringing it in with them. And then at 10 o'clock at night, all of these people are going to be on our roads at the same exact time that our teenagers will be returning from their jobs in time to get home from curfew between 10:30 and 11:30, 12:30 at night. What works in the South may not work up here in the North. Texas, Georgia, way different people up here than we have down there. One thing you mentioned was that you tried to direct business to local hotels. There are none. Closest hotel is the Marriott at 59 and Hoffman and the Interstate, or the Extended Stay. Can't really see them providing transportation to back and forth. Also, when you said, people come in and look, and then you have to do things for the rehearsal dinner. The only place to eat that would be even remotely large enough to hold a rehearsal dinner, maybe Pasta Mia. What, are they going to go to Subway? There's no place to hold a rehearsal dinner. The other thing is that, you mentioned that all of the trees around the chapel have to be green. It's Illinois. Nothing is green after October 15th. Nothing. unless you're going to put giant shrubs of, yew trees, which if you drive down Devon, you will see that due to the spray from the highway, the temperature of the area going up due to climate change, a lot of the evergreens that have been planted in the last 10 or 15 years are now dead. And so, yes, you can keep replanting trees, but there is no such thing as an all-green tree in Illinois 7 months of the year. 7 months of the year, you are going to have dead sticks. And so I don't really see how you're having your green and everything is really going to...
Okay, thank you. Your time is up.
What I would like to bring up is that I happened to look up the statistics because there too he does statistics with the decibels.
She didn't hear me.
70 decibels. Some of those houses are 36 feet away from, the back of their houses are 36 feet away from the chapel and some of the other areas. 100 feet, at 100 feet, 70 decibels is the same as two people having a conversation at 3 to 5 feet away. So these people at 11 o'clock at night who might want to have their windows open on that first nice day that we've waited 8 months for, and the music coming from the house would be the same as if somebody was standing in their backyard speaking, having a conversation. And we all know what that's like. When your neighbors have a little party or whatever, that's fine. But every single night, and that's just from the music in the building. That doesn't...
Your time's up.
Jim Reagan.
May I just make a quick response to that?
Jim Reagan, did you want to respond to that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I have to, just go back again to what I said that, your speculation about what happens, again, we can, you talk about people bring liquor into the building, doesn't happen. Look, folks, we can make up, and, I at the risk of sounding repetitive, we could make up any scenario that you want to make up and believe it and applaud it and apply it to my business. Doesn't matter what I say because you won't believe it, but I can tell you that certain things happen and certain things don't. And if you would like to address the things that, and we're getting very repetitive, so I don't want to keep repeating myself either, but the speculation of any possibility that could happen, that we're, whatever the experience is or whatever we're making up, it's hard to address that because most of this stuff doesn't happen in our property. If someone brings, first of all, it's against the law. Our license is at risk if somebody brings liquor onto our property. We watch that. We have systems for that. We have people that look out for that. From the time, even in the parking lot, that's part of the security officer's job is to make sure that people aren't leaving the building, going drinking in the parking lot. You don't have to believe that, but that's what we do. I can't speak for other places. I can't speak for any of the possibilities that we could make up and apply to this business. I can just tell you what we do and how we do it and what our experience is, and we can argue traffic studies, and we can say there's going to be, traffic jams and all that. All we have to go on is what this village required us to do, which they have accepted in terms of the studies. So we have done all this due diligence. We know what, we're in this business, for the long haul. We know what Chicago weddings do. We know where they go. We know how much they spend. We know how far they drive. We know how old they are. We know how many dogs they have. So we don't go into this just, shooting from the hip. We don't make investments like this hoping that they work. We spent months and months studying every location that we try to get into. You have to believe that. It's just the truth. So all this other stuff that, that we apply to this, some of it I can't argue because it just simply isn't true. It's strictly speculation. Thank you. Sorry.
Jim Reagan.
My name is Jim Regan. My address is 446 Hillendale Drive. Forgive me, I wrote up a great script. Let me tell you, it's awesome. But a lot of this has been covered, so I'm going to go and try to hit the things that I haven't heard yet. First of all, you compare this property to others you have in the south. But one thing I didn't see in the aerial views of those other properties are that the only egress, the only way in and out of our neighborhood borders this facility. And we look at studies and we look at traffic flow and we look at how many parking spots there are, and I applaud you for at least trying to find off-site parking. I'm very suspect it'll be used. I'm sure people would prefer to park on the streets of our neighborhood because it's closer. But those other locations, can you speak to whether or not the only way in and out borders your facility? Because all the concern I hear is about Devon and Prospect. We can't have parking on Devon, we can't have parking on Prospect. Worried about traffic on Devon and Prospect. Well, that's impacting us even reaching our homes. There's no other way to get to my house beyond those two streets.
Roberta, can you put up the Houston West aerial, please? There you go.
Okay, on the east side, is that the only way into
That's
the
it,
neighborhood?
right there. That's it. It's the only way on.
That's fine. No, I'm talking the
Residents
homes
back here. There's residents over here. This is the only way in and out of those residents without going way out of your way. I'm using it as an example. We have two streets that we're going in and out of here, and this one has one. There's been zero problems with that. Zero. And the capacity there is 400. I'm sorry?
Okay, okay. Again.
There you go.
All right.
And this was approved by the local authorities. So, it does work. That's all I can tell you there.
Well, that's a concern that I didn't hear brought up, and that's something I appeal to you to defend on the part of the residents in that neighborhood. That's our only way home, in or out. The other thing I want to bring up is a matter of public safety to the community as a whole, not just to those of us closest to the facility. And this is really why I think this is a horrible location for this business. I like your business. I'd like to have it in Bartlett. I don't want to have it at that location. And the reason for that is we're talking about 150 vehicles per event coming out after a 4-hour open bar. I'm not going to say 150 drunk drivers, but they're impaired. You cannot draw a straight line from your facility to Lake Street, to Route 59, to I-90. They're going to wiggle through neighborhoods. It's surrounded in every single direction along every street that comes to that facility past residential areas.
These guys here figure it out. And that's one way in and out. So I can tell you is we were instructed on where to put the entrances and how many to put them. And so again, we're complying with. If you have a problem with how we're complying with ordinances and with what's requested by the local DOT and by the village, address the village. We're just doing what we're asked to do. And they're a lot smarter about traffic than I am. I'm not you ought to see the traffic study. It's like 6 pages or 10 pages of, I don't even know what the heck it is. So they've got professionals doing this that know a hell of a lot more than I do about it. And if they say that, this is what they do for a living. If they say put another entrance in, which we did, and we want to ride in, ride out, then we put it there. We don't argue with them. So, maybe the requirements from the DOT and the village have to be changed. We're just complying with that.
Okay, thank you. Jim, next one.
Cynthia Barbas.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Borbis. I'm actually from Carroll Stream, 1110 Mill Court. I am here as a private citizen, and not as a candidate for state representative in this area. What I would really like to let Ashton Gardens know is I feel like you need to have more empathy for the people here. You know, they have to live with this. You know, I'm a member of the Carroll Stream Chamber of Commerce. I have my own business for 13 years. I'm very pro-business. I understand. But I feel Ashton Garden really needs to listen and work with the residents rather than argue, you know, and on all the logical points. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Robert Pasca.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Robert Pasta, 421 Deanna Drive. After listening to the presentation tonight, I feel more informed, but still have three specific concerns that I think the Commission should consider. First is parking. I know they've got the overflow lot. I've heard parking addressed, but I think the neighborhood would be put somewhat at ease if the village proactively put no banquet parking signs on all the streets in the neighborhood. I think nobody likes to take a shuttle. I wouldn't take a shuttle. I'd probably park on my street too. So I think that should be considered and done in the event this is approved. Second, and this is something I just was brought to my attention today, but with the entrance on Devon being right in, right out, people coming from the Elgin O'Hare are going to have to turn around somewhere. You can't come in that way, so they're going to be forced to either come in through the Prospect Street entrance or cut through the neighborhood to go around and make the right-hand turn in. I'm not sure if that was considered in the traffic study, what the impact on Lido Trail would be, but I think that needs to be looked at if it hasn't already. The last concern is with overserved individuals leaving the facility. I know we've got security guards on staff, and I've heard a lot about standard operating procedures, but those specifics haven't been discussed. And I don't know if that's something that has been provided previously, but I don't know under what authority those security guards have to stop an individual who's been overserved from backing into a fence, leaving the facility under the influence. But I know other villages have ordinances that require for every 100 people you have to have a cop on the property at the expense of the hall. I don't know if that's been considered or discussed, but I think there's a legitimate concern about people being able to leave the property after being under the influence. That was all I had.
Thank you.
Roy and Pam Hunt.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Karen Widlocki.
Yeah, about half are full-time, half are part-time, because we have events 3 days a week, so the service staff, bartenders, you know, certain culinary employees will be part-time, meaning, you know, 30 plus or minus hours. No, it's a lot more. No, the light at the dumpster will give limited lighting in that area back there. They'll pretty much at the end of an event, they'll pretty much, you know, unload out from the side door, as you see one of the two side doors. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, they'll come in and out here actually. Possibly in the front, depending on, you know, earlier in the day. More than likely in the back, but you know, it could be. There is here. There's an entrance here. Yeah, so it depends on the timing of the event. You know, if it's day or nighttime and what's going on. You know, for the most part, they'll approach from the front and the sides. We haven't. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
William Burrell.
Yeah, thanks.
Had invested in that place, I felt like telling them, take your money that you have and run now. Because I'll tell you one thing, the reason there's no high-end restaurants in Bartlett is because the people don't support it. And that's just the way it is. If you heard a person testify that they would love to have their wedding in Bartlett, but they couldn't afford Bartlett Hills, they can't afford you. So my concern is, you build this facility, everything's great, you fail, you move out, what's left? We have who knows who going to come in and take it over, and maybe in addition to, you know, weddings, they're going to have bachelor parties, or they're going to have something else going on there. And before you know it, we have another albatross in the city that sit there and do nothing but take tax revenue away from the other facilities that we support.
Yeah.
So as a businessman to businessman, I would say cut your losses and leave town.
Yeah, thanks a lot. All I can tell you is that we don't build in Bartlett, we don't build in Sugar Hill, Georgia, we don't build in Corinth, Texas. To make an investment like this, to have all of our business come from 40, 50, or 60,000 local residents. Our draw, our population draw for a location like this is upwards of 2.5 million people. We do that homework, and you know what happens if we go out of business? Gosh, I don't even want to think about it. We haven't yet. We think we have a good business model, but we're not. We hope we get some business from Bartlett, and by the way, y'all get neighborhood family deals. But the draw is really a much bigger target than here. So,
Thank you. Jim?
Luke Modlowski.
Good evening, Luke Mocholowski, 622 Lido Terrace West. So can you please bring up that other view we had, the aerial that covered a broader area? So I live just diagonally across from there on Lido. My fiance and I, we moved in there 6 months ago. Great community, great neighborhood. And my question is a little bit broader approach, probably more to the board than Mr. Schreiber here. Why are we trying to put a commercial whatever in that spot? If you look at that picture there, do you want this, if you look 5, 10, 15 years down the line, do you want this picture to look more like the top, where we have a underperforming plaza on the right side, we have a factory on the left side, another plaza down the street that's underperforming, or do we want it to look more like the bottom, where there's a community there and there's homes there? I've been here for 6 months in this neighborhood, and it's a confused neighborhood. You just take a look at that picture. So where are we taking this? This is the big picture here. I mean, that's the big question. And I think Mr. Schreiber made a great case why this is a great location for him, but a horrible case why it's a good location for the neighborhood and for the village.
Thank you. Thank you. Jim, have another?
That was the last one. There's no more that have sent me. Yeah.
Okay. I want to close this public hearing. Commissioners, further questions or comments for the petitioner or staff?
I have a question for staff. Roberta, with their private security, what can their private security do? Can they direct traffic? Can they issue parking tickets? Can they do anything on the public right away?
I don't believe so.
Okay. That's what I thought. I just wanted to get that in the minutes.
Although I take that back. Well, no, because our police officers actually direct traffic in the public right-of-way. These would be private officers off duty, that type of thing. So I don't think so.
And if there's that traffic control needed, is that something that, again, that would be paid for by the taxpayers, not by that event?
What do you do in your other communities?
We haven't had a need to direct traffic, but if the need came up, we would be, I'm not sure how the village would handle it, but we can't pay police officers to work for Ashton Gardens, so I'm not sure how that would work. But
typically, what we have other churches in town, and BAPS has done traffic control with our police officers, and I believe they pay.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
We'd be happy to cover a cost.
Just in case there was a need, if they had a wedding of 300 people, but it was at an off time, maybe it's going to start at 2 and end by 8. I mean, we can't guarantee that all weddings are at the same time and always are going to be.
Right. So you brought this up earlier as far as the lot filling up. You will have an officer out there who will realize that the lot is filling up. Is that correct? And at that point, you will direct them to your overflow lot?
Part of their job is to direct traffic and manage the parking, yes.
Okay. And I don't have a problem with the signs on the residential streets, that's for sure. But I think the parking is probably, in my opinion, controlled. How often do you have 300 people? You said that one time.
15 times a year in our larger facility in in Atlanta. That was last year, 15 times. 250 and up.
And according to, tell me again, the parking ratios, if we have 300, how many spaces do we typically need?
The calculation is 30% of capacity.
So that would be 100.
300 is, no.
A third of 300 would be 100 spaces? Is that would be the calculation here?
Yes, and it came out to 330 was 99 spaces. That's what staff.
And we have, I forget, how many spaces do you have?
We'll have 185 available.
Okay. All right.
Anyone else? And we'll be looking for a motion.
Wait a minute.
For approval of the petitioner's request, subject to the following conditions and findings of facts for preliminary final PUD plan and special uses. A, plan unit development, PUD. B, reception banquet hall, place of assembly. C, serving of liquor. And D, building height.
What, can I, well, go ahead.
You have a motion, is it second?
So moved.
You have discussion.
Second.
Discussion?
I would like to consider tabling this and gather a little bit more information on
Table once there's a motion made.
What?
You've already made your motion and seconded.
We'd have to cancel that.
We'd have to vote it down.
You'd have to vote on the motion on that is in front of you.
You need more information for what?
I'd like to have a little more information on the police reports that someone brought up with regard to.
Those police reports were not Bartlett police reports. Those were another town. I don't know
I
how.
understand that, but I'd like to gather that information that we have from our town. We don't have anything from our town.
Could you be more specific? Police reports from what entity?
I would like to look at, you've got an item there.
Yes.
All right. I'd like to have some items from the Bartlett Police Department with regard to our facilities.
Bartlett Hills?
Bartlett Hills, Villa Olivia. I don't think the Park District is big enough, but.
You do have a motion that you have to vote on. It's already been made and seconded. Asking for additional information is fine, but you still have to vote on your motion.
We have to vote tonight?
Yes?
Yes.
You already made the motion and seconded. You have to vote tonight.
Your information is not going to really change things. Okay, further discussion?
Yeah, I agree. I would like to have that additional information. I feel though. Hang on. Yeah, I do feel that there's not going to be the problems that maybe the Seville has. I don't
agree.
foresee.
It may not be there at all,
Yeah.
but I'd like to know. Can we withdraw our motion and second? Can we withdraw our second first and then withdraw our motion?
Yeah, you can withdraw that motion. That has to be the person who made the motion has to withdraw his motion. The person who did the second has to withdraw theirs. And tabling it would not be the right thing to do. Continuing public hearing would be the appropriate.
It was closed.
But you closed the public hearing already.
Okay, we have a motion and second.
Let me finish the discussion. I know we have the motion in the second here. Again, my concern with this, I think it's a great facility. I'm not concerned with the possibility of public safety issues. I'm not concerned with the noise. I don't think that's going to be a big issue. My issue is the parking and Devon and Prospect and Ontaриoville Road, which Devon out that way. It's not meant for this type of increased traffic out that way. There's not enough. I think the bigger concern for the residents, and I hope they would voice their concern to the county, is the number of dump trucks and semi-trucks that go down that way. I run down that way all the time, and I don't like looking at an empty lot, that's for sure. I would like to see something there. But I think, the time and energy should be spent at the county level getting that changed, because those are definitely alternate routes they could be taking. But, yeah, again, my concern is I don't think Devon, which is a county road, and Prospect is built up for this type of increased traffic and again, the parking issues that could definitely arise, and people missing the turn at Prospect and going down and cutting through that area to get back to the facility.
Okay, there's a motion and second. Secretary, call the roll.
Wait a minute.
Wait,
John Mias,
so,
We're not done with discussion yet.
your chairman is calling for us to do the vote. You don't have, he's ended the discussion.
All right.
Call for a vote.
All right, go.
John Miaso,
Yes.
Austin Hopkins,
No.
Tim Ridenauer,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Tom Connor,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
Jim Lemberg. Sorry, you don't have. Motion carried.
Motion carried. Okay. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your what?
Really? Okay, we still have future business, so if anyone has any comments, take it out into the hallway, please, or out in the parking lot.
I fucked that up, huh?
Me too. I had 5 conditions tonight. I was hoping to get conditions.
I was going to have the village at least.
I knew everybody was going to.
So fast. Ask for discussion before you call for a vote.
Traffic study, these reports are from the.
Well, I would have. I would only have asked since we got to this point that the.
Oh, I don't. I think what will happen
Look into what I was trying to do. Maybe nothing, right? It probably is.
Yeah, probably nothing.
I'm sure they will now.
Parking's on there.
I can't think.
Can we take it out in the hallway, please?
That's exactly what I. That detail. Just say that you have overflow parking.
The strip center lane.
Yeah, how you doing? Good to see you.
Oh, God, no. I've been here, 3 years? We start at 7, by 7:30 you're home.
The meeting is still going on, folks. If you can go out in the hall.
To the hallway.
Thank you.
We leave at 8 o'clock, it's late.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time, thank you for your investment in Bartlett.
Next item on our agenda is old business, new business.
Good luck.
I don't think we have much in the way of old business other than to tell you that Jerry Callis has expressed a desire to return to the ranks of the Plan Commission, and hopefully by next month we'll be able to do it through the use of the video camera and phone, which we have the hookup. Unfortunately, he couldn't join us tonight. He was close to it, but didn't work out for him. And in terms of new business, we probably will have a meeting next month. I'm not sure. There's nothing really in the pipeline. You've pretty much reviewed and approved everything so far. So right now we don't know if we have a meeting next month, unless we get another project. But you've gone through all your industrial and subdivision. So right now it's on hold. So we'll see.
Okay, Jim, if I could just say thank you for the gift and the card.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions, comments? Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't too.
Look at this mess.
All right. We're going to meet Ray Daney at Tasmania, yeah.
Yeah.